football's national championship. Polls, bowl coalitions, controversy. Championship dreams can still be won and lost on the field by the young men who play this game.
Playing on the field with a chance to be number one is the most exciting thing that's ever happened to me in my life.
Everybody's main goal was to get to the national championship and win a championship, so it's like a team thing. So when we come together and when we play this game on Saturday, when we win, it's going to be a special thing.
I think that anybody says Division III national championship doesn't count for anything, they haven't really paid attention to the caliber of football that's being played at Division III level.
Today, you'll see the Division III Player of the Year, Jim Ballard, as he leads the Purple Raiders of Mount Union against Rowan College. Then Tyrone Rush leads unbeaten North Alabama against Indiana, Pennsylvania for the Division II national title. We welcome you to the picturesque but extremely brisk Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. We're in the Roanoke Valley, to be exact, side of Salem Stadium, and scene of today's national championship matchup between the Rowan Profs and the Purple Raiders of Mount Union. Hello, everyone. I'm Jerry Punch. Glad to have you with us. For the 21st consecutive year, the NCAA will determine their Division III national champion on the playing field here in the Amos Alonzo Stagg Bowl. Each year, 16 teams are selected from among the 198 which compete at the non-scholarship level, or Division III. Now, these 16 teams compete in a 4-week single-elimination tournament. Last week, 4 regional winners went at it in semifinals, and ironically, the 2 teams that survived, Mount Union and Rowan, have a lot in common. Both these teams had a heartbreaking loss in the semifinals a year ago, and neither one have ever made it to the big dance here today. Joining me, as always, our ESPN college football analyst, Mike Gottfried. And, Coach, we talked about the fact these 2 teams have so much in common, and part of it, is exciting, explosive offense.
2 excellent quarterbacks, Jerry. Mount Union's Jim Ballard, very strong-arm quarterback that's very accurate. Before the game, I ran into several pro scouts are here watching him today. They feel like that he can play on the next level. 8 touchdown passes last week, but he's going to meet a defense that's going to be very difficult tonight in Rowan. Rowan's quarterback, Ed Hessen, also will throw a lot of quick passes. Quick passing game, delays, screens.
Both defenses very, very stingy, but you have to be impressed with the fact that Mount Union has allowed less than 48 yards rushing a game, and all year long, a total of just 96 points.
Jerry, I'm always a firm believer in a team that can run the football will win the football game. And Mount Union's defense only gives up 1.6 yards per rushing attempt, and they'll get a real challenge from Rowan today because they have an excellent back in Steve Anderson.
Indeed they will. There are some elements here today that could impact the game plan for both of these teams. For more on that, let's join the 3rd member of our broadcast crew. Down on the field is Charlene Hawks.
Hi, Jerry, everyone. Well, the good news is the rain we've seen the last couple days has stopped. The bad news, we've got snow flurries, winds up to 30 miles per hour, and a wind chill factor of 6. But on a positive note, the folks here at the Stagg Bowl have done a first-rate job in protecting the field. It's in ideal condition. Now, yesterday, Rowan College took a look at the rain they saw outside. Remember, the last 6 games have played in pouring rain. Decided to give the boys a break, so they held practice on a basketball court. On the other hand, the Mount Union players told Coach Karras, we've come this far. We want to go outside in the rain for one last practice. Jerry?
Well, Charlene, try to stay warm if you can. Let's, before we begin our championship Saturday, let's check in back in the studio where I'm sure it's extremely warm, and Mike Tirico is standing by. What do you have for us, Michael? Welcome back to Salem, Virginia. Our first play from scrimmage at pass completion. Jim Ballard to tight end Rob Atwood over the middle. 23-yard completion. And we told you that it was windy and brisk here, and the weather was such that the officials were blowing the whistle trying to hold up play, and they kicked the ball off.
Jerry, the impressive thing about Jim Ballard, the quarterback, is he has a very strong arm. That throw to Rob Atwood, the tight end, was right on the money into the wind.
We're talking about winds that are gusting up to 30 miles per hour. Split backs, Mark Neff and Jim Gresko. Motion to give inside to Gresko. He'll gain about 3. Take a look at the Mount Union offense. They are led by their senior quarterback, Jim Ballard, the Division III Player of the Year. Back behind him, he's looking for senior wide receiver Ed Bubonics, the all-time leader in touchdown receptions with 35. And up front, their senior-laden offensive line includes 3 all-conference selections led by 2-year starter George Radich. Second down and 8. Division III Player of the Year. Ballard back, 7-step drop back to pass, gets a little bit of pressure, and he overthrows Jim Gresko, the intended receiver. Take a look at Rowan defensively. They are anchored up front by 280-pound senior nose tackle Bill Fisher, who leads the team with 9 tackles for loss. Behind him, speedy outside linebacker Paul Fornicola has led the team with 14 sacks on the season. And the secondary, their defensive captain Bill Levette, the Gagliardi Trophy nominee. Good crowd on hand here. Sold out Salem Stadium. 8,000 seats. They even sold standing room this morning, and quite a crowd on hand here under some inclement weather. Ballard rolling to his right. As a receiver, great defensive play. Intended for Rob Atwood. And Leroy Jones, a leading tackler, inside linebacker, on a great swat of the ball away over the middle, Coach.
Leroy Jones went over the back of Rob Atwood and may have got away with a pass interference call here early in the ball game, but forcing Mount Union to punt the football.
Sean Egan is the punter, averaging just over 31 yards a kick. An all-conference soccer player for 3 years. Steve Anderson back deep to receive.
Should be a short kick, Jerry, because of the wind.
Egan gets a low end-over-ender, hits about the 38, will roll down, and gets a pretty good roll down about the 25-yard line. Take a look at Rowan offensively. They are led by their senior quarterback, Ed Hessen, the ECAC Division III Metro Player of the Year, 6 touchdown passes in 3 playoff games. His favorite target, 2-time all-conference wide receiver Kirby Johnson. The junior leads the team with 40 receptions, and up front, the injury to the Profs' best offensive lineman, Andy Dunn, puts the burden of protection on their Sicklerville, New Jersey right guard, Matt Swift. Offensively, the first time for Rowan College, ball on their own 25-yard line. Pitch to Anderson. He moves it up close to the 29-yard line. Take a look at Mount Union defensively. Their force up front is 275-pound, 5th-year senior defensive tackle Mike Hallett. He's the 2-time All-American. He is backed up by Rob Rogers, the Ohio Athletic Conference's top linebacker in 1993. And, of course, in the secondary, sophomore free safety Mike Malcheski leads the team with 10 interceptions. Single back, the fullback Jarvis Perry. Hessen over center. They will give the ball to Perry. And he is stacked up at the line of scrimmage. Good play. Joe Jekyll coming in from cornerback, making a good play on Jarvis Perry.
Jerry, I think the important thing for both teams to establish the running game. When you look at Mount Union, they've only given up 1.6 yards per rush, so it's been a very difficult defense to run against. Rowan has to find a way to run the football against this defense.
That'll bring up a 3rd and 6. Jarvis Perry, 3 backs to the top of your screen, 3 wide receivers. Perry, the lone setback. Hessen back to pass. Looking across to the right. The ball is tipped. Priest Ramsey almost had it.
Jerry, what's important now is that Rowan's had problems punting in the pass situation. Now they've got a 4th down situation here. Still have their offense. Now here they come running in from the sideline. They'll run in real quick. You see them come in. They'll line up and snap the football, trying to give Mount Union very little chance to get organized for the punt block.
They have had a couple of punts blocked this year. Deep to receive for Mount Union, Ed Bubonics and Sean Lyon. Bubonics will take it on his own 27-yard line, gets up across the 30, and is brought down on about the 33.
Tackle made by number 42,
Rowan College, coached by Casey Keeler in his first year after spending 7 years as an assistant coach. 5 as offensive coordinator. What a job he has done at Rowan this year. 11-1 in his first year at the helm of the college up in Glassboro, New Jersey. His counterpart, Larry Karras, second winningest active coach in Division III. The 44-year-old Karras taking his team to the playoffs for the 5th time in the last 9 years. First and 10, ball on the 34. Ballard, the slip screen inside to Bubonics, and he can't quite hang on. Leading receiver Ed Bubonics, a moment ago, you saw him trying to hold on to the pass. Now Bubonics is playing with a broken hand. He broke a bone in his right hand in the first playoff game against Allegheny.
Jerry, Rob Atwood, number 89, you see how they line him up? They line him up away, they flex him a little bit so that they can move him around so that he can get a free release and not get bumped at the line of scrimmage.
Ballard, looks like the ball slipped out of his hand. The ball floats about 3 yards over the head of his intended receiver. Chris Rhodes in the recovery.
Here's what I'm talking about, Jerry, with Rob Atwood, number 89. You're going to see him come in the picture on your left side, being bumped at the line of scrimmage. But see, he's open. Jim Ballard pressured a little bit, just threw the ball too high.
Rowan defensive coaches felt they could put some pressure on Ballard. They felt that even though he threw 8 touchdown passes last week, Coach, that he had not been pressured throughout the season. That'll bring up a 3rd and 10. They fake the draw inside, pressure, and Ballard goes down on about the 27-yard line. Bill Fisher, senior nose tackle, coming in to make the sack.
Anytime you can get pressure on a quarterback with the front 4, that means you don't have to give up linebackers. Here's number 90, Bill Fisher. When you don't get pressure out of the front 4, then you have to bring linebackers in coverage, out of coverage for the blitz. Now again, Jerry, if I was Rowan College, now I'd go for the block because you're going to get very little chance for a return because of this wind in the punter's face. Go for the punt block here because you're not going to be able to get a return.
And once again, as you said, Coach, not a very good kick by Sean Egan. It'll be down on about the 47-yard line. So no score early in the first quarter here at the 21st annual Amos Alonzo Stagg Bowl. Back after this.
ESPN's presentation of NCAA college football is brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers, who reminds you friends know when to say when. And by Fisher Nuts. It's Fisher flavor, or it's just plain nuts.
And you're looking at Amos Alonzo Stagg, the 4th winningest coach in college football history. Credited with 314 victories. That puts him behind Eddie Robinson, Bear Bryant, and Glenn Pop Warner. Capacity crowd wrapped up here watching this 21st edition of the Division III championship game. 1st and 10 for Rowan College. After a 19-yard punt, the give inside to Anderson. He has a hole down inside the 45, the 35-yard line. Jay Sobel, the inside linebacker, finally making the tackle.
Steve Anderson is an impressive running back. Penn State recruited him out of high school. He didn't project on the test. Here you see a good cutback by Steve Anderson, cutting on a dime. Got a good block by Matt Swift, number 63, but was able to take it back away from the flow.
Gain of 12 yards, and Anderson will get a rest. Single back is the fullback, Jarvis Perry, and he will get the ball on the split draw, and good move by Rob Rogers, the outside linebacker for the Purple Raiders. Rogers a question mark. In fact, they didn't think he would even play today. He had a calf injury in last week's semifinal game.
What Rowan is going to try to do to Mount Union is go to the one-back set and spread the receivers out. hoping Mount Union will spread out a little bit so they can hit Jarvis Perry up inside. Jerry, this is a very important series for Rowan because they've got great field position. They have to take advantage and put points on the board.
Loss of 2 on the play. Steve Anderson once again will gain about 3.5, looks to be 4 yards. And Rob Rogers in again on the play.
Watching Rowan College in practice, as you see Mike Hallett here, number 78, the key defensive lineman for Mount Union, making the play. 6'5", 275-pound senior. But here I'd look for a little quick screen or a little delay out of the backfield by one of the running backs. A little short pass by Ed Hessen.
Calvin Easley in the backfield for the first time today, the 5'9", 205-pound senior, number 31. Back to passes Hessen as a receiver. It is Easley, and he will have the first down.
When Calvin Easley comes into the ball game, number 31, he's the better pass catcher in the backfield. Steve Anderson, number 33, is the running back. Calvin Easley's the back they like to bring out of the backfield and throw the football to. Now you see Steve Anderson come back in, which should set up a running play for Rowan College.
No one picked up Easley out of the backfield that time.
Lost him in the snow.
Exactly. In weather, it is snowing harder and harder, and the wind is gusting at over 25 miles an hour. This time they give the ball again to Anderson. Down the left end, inside the 20-yard line, down around the 17.
Casey Keeler took over for John Bunning. Bunning was the coach at Rowan College for the last 5 years, former Philadelphia Eagle player, played for Dick Vermeil, now coaching the linebackers for the Kansas City Chiefs, and Casey Keeler took over the job. This is his first season. And as you said, Jerry, had a great year for a first-year head coach.
And he calls all the offensive plays. Line of scrimmage at 17-yard line, 2nd and 7. Hessen taking a while to make a decision. He will give the ball out of the backfield. That is Anderson once again, and Rob Rogers. These two guys have met the 3 consecutive plays. Anderson carrying the ball and Rogers making the tackle.
He's an impressive back, and what makes it impressive for him, and he gets a good block from his fullback, Jarvis Perry. But you see again the ability he has to skate to the outside. If nothing's inside, he's able to move outside and make the yardage that he needs for the first down. It's 3rd and short for Rowan.
Anderson already 5 carries for 30 yards. That brings up a 3rd and 1. And they pitch the ball back to Jarvis Perry. Perry breaks it loose around 5 yards, and he will score. I think some of the Mount Union players thought he may have stepped out on the 4-yard line, but the official right there on it watches him just sidestep his way down into the end zone.
The key block was by Calvin Easley, number 31. They went to a little cheat set to the left. See, number 31, Calvin Easley, is going to make the block, which will spring. There's Calvin Easley, spring Jarvis Perry to the outside and in for the touchdown.
Jarvis Perry, the offensive captain, transferring from Virginia State. Rushed for 798 yards and 8 touchdowns this year. The extra point is no good. Attempted by Rob Giuliano, the transfer from Vanderbilt. So here in the first quarter, Rowan gets on the board first, and they lead this 21st annual Amos Alonzo Stagg Bowl 6-0. Welcome back to Salem, Virginia. Sold out Salem Stadium, and Rowan College out of Glassboro, New Jersey. First on the scoreboard at 6-0. The extra point was no good. That scoring drive, 47 yards, 7 plays, all on the ground, 3 minutes and 32 seconds. And Jarvis Perry takes it over from 13 yards out.
It's most important in this ball game because of the wind. Again, it's such a heavy wind from left to right that you take advantage of your scoring opportunities. Rowan's had 2 opportunities with the wind at their back, and they got 6 points on the board.
And once again, Rob Giuliano will put it in the air. And looks like Gresko, the running back. Jim Gresko will take it about his 3-yard line. Across the 15. He was met on the 17. And we'll be down on the 18-yard line. Let's check in with our sideline reporter, Charlene Hawks.
Well, for those of you who may not be familiar with the name Rowan College, maybe that's because last year was Glassboro State, but after Mr. Henry Rowan donated $100 million, well, the name change was just a minor thing. Now, that's one of the largest gifts ever given to a public college university. Why $100 million?
That's a good question. I think that's what it's going to take to do what we want to do with the engineering school at Rowan College.
And it met with some controversy, but how does it feel to see all these Rowans out there on the helmet?
I tell you, that's exciting. It's exciting to watch where the boys play.
You've become quite a fan.
I sure have. They make you a fan.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Jerry?
Thank you, Charlene. Mr. and Mrs. Henry Rowan, Henry and Betty Rowan, they donated $100 million to the... I checked my family tree last night 3 and 4 times trying to find a Rowan or a Rockefeller or just someone there, but none of them there.
Looking at Henry, I think that maybe he is an uncle of mine. Long ago, I'm going to try to reacquaint myself with him.
No gain on the first down, and bring up a 2nd and 10 for the Purple Raiders of Mount Union. Pass up the field of 32 complete to Ed Bubonics. Quick out up about the 31-yard line. That'll be enough for the first down.
I've heard of boosters, but that's a booster when you give $100 million to a program, and it really has helped this program. And when you had some of the scores coming in, Youngstown behind 7-0, but when you look at this last year when they changed the name, the first out of the box was the football team, Casey Keeler's team, and they were able to go out and get such positive press with the new name. It really helped the program kind of get off. There was a lot of people negative about changing from Glassboro to Rowan College.
Well, they have certainly been impressive this year. Lone setback, 4 wide receivers. Jim Ballard over center. Will give the ball inside to Gresko. Got a good hole up over the 35-yard line. Talked about Rowan College, founded in 1923 as Glassboro State. Name change, as you heard Charlene say a moment ago, back at the beginning of last year. Located in Glassboro, New Jersey. 9,855 students. 5-2, the Division III playoff record.
15 of their 17 sports last year were in the playoffs in Division III. So they're very successful sports-wise.
And they won the Lambert Trophy in 1993, significant of supremacy in the East in Division III. 2nd and 6 for Mount Union. Good pressure again on Ballard. He has a receiver, Bubonics. And Bubonics makes the catch down about the 36-yard line.
That was an impressive play by Jim Ballard because he was looking first for his tight end, Rob Atwood, number 89. You're going to see number 13 roll to the left. Now he's looking for his tight end, number 89. Now he whirls around and throws the post pattern to Ed Bubonics, number 2. Really an excellent throw with a strong arm into the wind.
And Ballard paid the price for that when he got leveled by Bill Fisher, the nose tackle, when he let that ball go, but a great pass and a gain of 38 yards. This time, the draw inside, and they have that one sniffed out. Jim Gresko gets the ball. Dan Robertson, the defensive end, making the stop.
Last week, Jerry, before the St. John's game, Jim Ballard, the quarterback, had the picture of the St. John's quarterback all week. He carried it around, and before the game started, he ripped it up and then went out in the field and ripped up the St. John's defense. But this is an impressive quarterback on any level. Started at Wilmington College and transferred to Mount Union.
He threw 8 touchdown passes last week against a very, very good St. John's of Minnesota football team. 2nd and 11, loss of a yard. Screen to the left side. Gresko has it down inside the 35, across the 30, and will be very close, depending upon the mark, to a first down. Looks like he may have it.
Well, this is what's going to make the success of the offense for Mount Union, because they haven't been able to run the football. So the only way you can slow down the rush, if you can't get your draws and traps going, is your screen passes. Here's Jim Gresko, number 27, catching the screen pass, which will slow down the pass rush of Rowan College.
Jim Gresko led the Ohio Athletic Conference in scoring the past 2 years.
900 snaps this year offensively were center snaps. He's touched the football 300 times, so Jim Gresko is a very important part of this offense. Good blocking by the offensive line. See Tom Commit, number 66 out there. Number 27, Jim Gresko, picking up the first down.
Good effort by Gresko. There's a look at the McDonald, Pennsylvania running back. 6 feet, 197 pounds, a physical education major. Leading rusher this year for the Raiders at Mount Union. Almost 1,400 yards rushing and 15 touchdowns on the ground. This time a give again to Gresko. And he is stacked up after a gain of a couple. Leroy Jones in on the tackle.
Talk about Jim Gresko, the coaches in Mount Union. Joe Cockley, the offensive coordinator, talked about it. Said when we recruited him and he came to school, we didn't think he could play. We thought he was a little bit slow. We thought he was too small for what we wanted to do, and his strength wasn't very good. But he said now he's become one of the best players we've ever had in Mount Union. See what he's accomplished in the 3 playoff games.
Split backs, Gresko along with Mark Neff, the senior running back. 2nd and 8. Atwood will roll his right, and again, screen this time to Atwood, who has a blocker, and Atwood will score. So just that quickly, we have a tie football game. We told you there were 2 explosive offenses here, both averaging almost 40 points a game. That was a 24-yard reception. Ballard to Atwood, and we have a tie football game.
Excellent call by Joe Cockley, but look here now, number 29, Jim Ballard sees the rush coming from Andy Hyde, number 29. Here comes the pressure, but he has a screen pass called just behind Andy Hyde to Rob Atwood. Now watch the blocking take place, and a good block downfield by Sean Lyons, number 83, for the touchdown.
Great call by Joel Cockley, the offensive coordinator from Mount Union, trying to neutralize the rush. And the extra point by Daniel Lixney is good, and Mount Union takes a 1-point lead, 7-6 over Rowan. Once again, Atwood on the scoring drive. Back in a moment. In Salem, Virginia, 4 minutes and 2 seconds remain in the first quarter. Mount Union ahead by a point. Let's check in on the sidelines with Charlene Hawks.
Well, Jerry, we've moved beyond snow flurries. We're now into a legitimate blizzard. It's great Christmas time weather. We just need a fireplace, and I mean it. There are no heaters down here, and for those of you who are familiar with cold football games, that is unusual. But both teams are familiar with playing with no heat, and they're pretty tough. Jerry?
Charlene, the wind chill being shown at 6 degrees. They were estimating would be 0 by halftime. That's encouraging news, I know, for you down there, but try to stay warm. You know, Kerry Harvey-Cutter, the host committee folks here at the Stagg Bowl in Salem, they've done a wonderful job. They have a sold-out stadium. They sold standing room this morning. People knew the weather was going to be a little difficult today, but they still came. Squib kick, picked up on the 31-yard line. Aaron Bosco, the backup fullback, fields it on the 31. 1 AA score. Youngstown State has come back to tie it up with a little over 5 minutes to go in the first quarter. Idaho and Youngstown State.
Troy State Marshall play a little bit later. Both teams with a home field advantage. Youngstown State and Marshall should advance in those games.
Boy, Jim Donald's done a wonderful job up there in Huntington, West Virginia with the thundering herd of Marshall.
He really has. Missouri, he was a former Missouri assistant, so sure Missouri may show a little interest in him for their head job.
Ball on the 30-yard line. Eddie Hessen, quarterback, eye backs, looking for the receiver downfield, overthrows the intended receiver, Gantry Fox. Coming up later today, the Division II National Championship game coming your way from Florence, Alabama. It's North Alabama and Indiana of Pennsylvania. Dave Sims, Dan Jiggets, and Rick Walker will be on hand live from Florence, Alabama. You will see that game as well as continuing coverage of the Amos Alonzo Stagg Bowl here from Salem, Virginia.
Frank Signetti, the head coach of Indiana, Pennsylvania, has done a nice job with that program.
2nd and 10. Ball play inside. He's getting the ball easily gain over the 40-yard line. Looks to be close to a first down. Looks like he has a gain of about 11.
Remember what we talked about at the beginning is that Mount Union has been so difficult against the run. They just will not allow anybody to run. But Rowan College is really having some success. Anthony McCoskey, number 76, with the block. Calvin Easley with the good gain. And Rowan, to this point, is having success running against that purple defense.
McCoskey, the big 300-pound left tackle, once again the pitch to Anderson. He will be up across the 45, and once again it is Rob Rogers, named the conference's outstanding linebacker in 1993, the Ohio Athletic Conference, along with Mike Howlett, the two-time All-American. They make the stop. Take a look at Mount Union College, founded in 1846, located up in Alliance, Ohio. Just 1,325 students. Their record in Division III, 7 and 4. Once again, to give to Calvin Easley. Coach telling us that Easley was a lot like having a linebacker in the backfield. He's a very physical football player.
He's a very solid running back that has good hands out of the backfield. Now they're rotating Steve Anderson back into the ball game on 3rd and short yardage. And talked about Mount Union, the success they've had. Kenny Wable was their longtime head coach. He's here today.
High backs, Perry and Anderson. Behind Hessen. 3rd down. 2 yards to go for the first. Hessen back to throw. Looking left side, top of the screen. Gantry Fox, the junior wide receiver, and Fox will have it for the first down.
Well, it's 3rd and short, and what Mount Union tried to do was bring their outside linebackers in tight, which would allow the one-on-one coverage on the outside. Good call by Casey Keeler, because Gantry Fox, you're going to see him, number 4, to top of the screen with a good cushion by number 21, Mike Lanos, just off a little. He respects his speed, Jerry, so he's off too far, really, on that quick pass to Gantry Fox.
Gain of 14. That completion to the first team all-conference selection. 1st and 10 inside the 40-yard line. Once again, split backs, 2 wide receivers. Hessen will again attempt to throw all the way across the field, and it is complete to Kirby Johnson, his leading receiver for the 1993 season.
Kirby Johnson. Number 25,
what Ed Hessen is looking at is the outside linebackers of Mount Union. He's trying to Rob Rogers, number 3, Matt Winters, number 38. He's looking at them to try to decide what he's doing, and here's what he sees on the top of the screen, the big cushion again to his wide receiver. Joe Jekyll, number 25. Those corners have so much respect for the speed of Rowan's receivers. They're just giving them too big a cushion.
Jekyll knows Kirby Johnson is a 2-time all-conference selection and has been very difficult to stop with the short routes this year. This time the flanker screen. Priest Ramsey has some speed and has a blocker inside the 20. He's ridden out the 25-yard line, inside the 30, and that'll be enough for the first down.
You're right, Jerry, on speed, because if he didn't have speed in this situation, he's going to come back in for the screen, but he's going to try to hit it right here, but he can't hit it there, and they force it around the outside, which is a good defensive play. Priest Ramsey, number 8. Now, once you make that catch, you want to cut upfield, but nothing's there, so he has to take it all the way across. Jarvis Perry gets a block, Ed Hessen gets a block, and he still picks up yardage because of the speed of number 8, Priest Ramsey.
Ramsey, a transfer from Penn State. He was the MVP of the Big 33 game in high school. Set a record in that game for yards gained. 1st and 10, ball on the 25-yard line. Hessen getting some pressure now, will roll, and looks to have the completion to Jarvis Perry, the fullback, for a gain of a couple.
Casey Keeler talked to us, Jerry, about Jarvis Perry. He said he's playing at a new level against C.W. Post early in the year, a Division II team that they lost to. They moved him to defensive back, played him as strong safety because they felt like they needed help on defense. The pros thinks he can be a strong safety. He's a key today because of what they're trying to do in the one-back set, where they're going to spread him out and try to get number 5, the football, Jarvis Perry.
Had a great year. You took a look at his numbers there a moment ago. 2nd and 7. Rowan props on offense again, once again to Perry. He is ridden down just inside the 20-yard line by defensive end Jim Frank, the senior from Lilburn, Georgia.
That's their plan, Jerry, to spread out Mount Union, put Jarvis Perry in a one-back set, and run the football. When they go to the one-back set, two-back set, they're throwing a little bit more now against Mount Union.
And the Vandals of Idaho go up 10-7 over Youngstown State, still in the first quarter in that 1AA playoff game.
John L. Smith, the head coach of Idaho.
Our championship Saturday coverage here on ESPN. Of course, coming up later today, the Division II championship game. You'll be able to see that. We'll be back and forth as you watch championships being decided under NCAA rules in both Division II and Division III here on ESPN. Let's check in on the sidelines with Charlene Hawks.
Jerry, a moment ago we heard Rowan College defensive coach talking to his line saying, giving a reason why the Mountain Union team had such an effective drive, saying, you're giving away the blitzes. You need to disguise them better. Don't walk up to the line.
Thank you, Charlene. They certainly are. It was a great call a moment ago. We talked about the great offensive call by Rowan's offensive coordinator. What a nice job he had done.
You look at Division III, there's 198 Division III football teams. It's down to the final 2 teams. And both these teams that you mentioned earlier, Jerry, were semifinalists last year, and they lost the ball game. Sometimes you set your goals as a coach and a team to get to the playoffs. And last year when they lost in the semifinals, both these teams said, when we get a chance next year, we're going to get back and get to the final ball game. So their goal this year is to win this national championship.
In 4 previous ventures into the playoffs, Mount Union has lost to the eventual national champion each time. The first time either one of these teams have made it to the final game. 3rd down, ball on the 20-yard line, 5 to go. Hessen back to pass, has a receiver in the end zone, tries to force the ball into Jarvis Perry out of the backfield. Looked like he had a receiver across the middle in the end zone, but he couldn't quite see him as he was behind a couple of defenders.
Well, here's what Rowan is trying to do on this play. They're going to bring both backs out and cross them, trying to get them to work against some linebackers. Jarvis Perry and Steve Anderson. Watch the running backs cross now. Jarvis Perry is open, but the ball's just overthrown and too far inside. Bob Malinowski on the coverage, number 57.
They will attempt a 37-yard field goal. Rob Giuliano. Kick is up and away, and it is good. Giuliano, his 9th field goal of the season. The transfer from Vanderbilt began the year as a Commodore. In fact, kicked for Vanderbilt in their opening game against Wake Forest. Gave up the scholarship and moved to Division III, Rowan College. Once again, Rob Giuliano putting it up from 37 yards out and making up early on for that missed extra point and just inside the right upright as the young man from Mount Laurel, New Jersey celebrates the 37-yarder. In fact, that is career long this year. He kicked one from 33 yards earlier in the playoffs against William Patterson. So our score with just 23 seconds remaining in the first quarter, Rowan has gone up 9-7 over Mount Union.
Jerry, an interesting story. In the NCAA only allows 48 players to dress. This is Brian Adair, number 39. He's one of the captains of Rowan College. He's the special teams captain, but the coaches had to call him in before the playoffs started and said, you can't dress because we can only dress 48 players. Here's a captain. He went out always with his jersey on, but never got in a playoff game, called his mom and dad, told him he wasn't going to be able to play, cried in his room, but never cried to the football team or his coaches. He practiced every day, and now he's in here and playing in special teams. And I don't like that rule, Jerry, 48. I think if you get to the finals, you ought to be able to dress everybody. Come on, the NCAA ought to open up the coffers a little bit and don't be so cheap and let these guys play.
Well, you know, I agree with you, Mike. I think when the Division I teams go to a bowl game, everyone gets a watch or gets something from the bowl game. These kids, they travel 65 all year long for away games. They dress about 105 at home. And when they go to the playoffs, about 15 of those kids who have contributed all year long have to sit in the stands.
Well, they're in the stands, and it's just not fair. They practice from August. They prepare like every school in Division I or any division plays. So the NCAA ought to throw that rule out for the championship game.
Speaking of the NCAA, this man you're looking at here, Jim Ballard, has 15 records. And whoa! Bill Fisher says, how do you do to Jim Gresko? Gresko didn't even get to stand up and grab the football, and Fisher was in his face.
Well, he didn't get a chance to answer the how do you do either, because he got belted. The quick play by Jim Ballard, the quick draw, but no one blocks Bill Fisher. 6'3", 280 pounds. He owns the line of scrimmage.
After 15 minutes of play in this 21st annual Amos Alonzo Stagg Bowl, Rowan is up by 2 points over Mount Union. Back after this. to be back to brisk Salem, Virginia. And the snows have stopped, but that hasn't dampened the enthusiasm of this sellout crowd here in the 21st Annual Division III Championship game. 2nd and 14 from Mount Union. Ball at 24-yard line.
Jerry, keep your eye on number 2, Ed Bubonics.
You called it, Coach. Completion to about the 38-yard line.
To be successful today, Mount Union has to get the ball in number 2's hands, Ed Bubonics. You're just going to see him run just a short, flat route here, clear to the outside. Ed Bubonics is wide open in the short route. See him come underneath the clearing route, catch the ball on the inside, and I'll pick up about 7 yards after the catch. But both Rob Atwood and Ed Bubonics have to get the football. They said if he was a tailback, he'd be a great tailback. Just a great team player for Mount Union.
3 catches, 55 yards for Bubonics. Passing in the first quarter, Jim Ballard had 98 yards. Through the air, give the ball for the first down. That is Jim Gresko diving ahead for a couple of yards.
What Rowan would like to do with Ed Bubonics and Rob Atwood is put somebody right on them and make sure that they get bumped before they can get down the field, and just try to disturb their routes a little bit. Give a little bit longer for the defensive line to get after Jim Ballard.
Ballard, the Kodak All-American, yesterday was named Division III Player of the Year. First annual Gagliardi Trophy, which we'll tell you about a little later on. 1st and 10. Ballard going deep as a receiver. Sean Lyons, a junior from Rocky River, Ohio, leaping, trying to make the catch. Robert Davidson, the quarterback, is a defender.
He had him beat, really. Robert Davidson, number 21, recovers pretty well. He's able to go up for the football. Ball is just underthrown a little bit to Sean Lyons, number 83. Had him open, oh, Jerry. That'll open up the underneath routes a little bit.
That'll bring up a 2nd and 10 for the Purple Raiders. Rolling to his left, Ballard has Bubonics, who is covered. Ballard will touch it and run. Gain a couple as he is chased out of bounds up over the 43-yard line.
Number 7, Watson, the chase.
Ballard not really a runner, but he can throw the football. 62% completion, career 10,379 yards, and a Division III record, 115 touchdowns.
It's another point I want to make too, Jerry. Sometimes people look at transfers and look down on them a little bit. Jim Ballard transferred from Wilmington College, and there's a lot of transfers on this field today. And I'll continue here after the play about transfers.
3rd down, ball on about just over the 43-yard line. Once again, Ballard trying to get some time to throw. Has a receiver. That is Atwood, who is at the 35-20. Atwood turns it on and is chased out of bounds on about the 12-yard line by the inside linebacker, Eddie Williams, a true freshman coming in for P.J. Mahegan.
Rob Atwood, and the reason they're motioning him is so that he can get down the football field without someone bumping him and without him disturbing his routes. Number 89 will come up the field. Now, see, no one gets a hand on him. Rob Atwood is wide open behind Ed Williams, the linebacker, 45, then picks up good yardage down to about the 12-yard line.
And Ballard paid the price, too. Outside linebacker Andy Hyde put one heck of a lick on him and let go of the ball. Gain of 44 yards. That'll bring up a 1st and 10 on the 13-yard line. Ballard looking in the end zone. Tucks it back in, will run it. 5-3, and he is brought down just short of the goal line on about the 2-foot line, less than a yard.
Good decision by Jim Ballard because nothing was open in the passing game. There's the play fake. He's looking for Ed Bubonics. He's not open. Brings the ball back in. Now takes off, and Bill Lovett, number 14, will make the tackle at the 1-yard line. The number 89, Rob Atwood, after. See, now they're chucking him a little bit, trying to get him a little bit of contact as he crossed the field, but he was open in the end zone, Jerry.
Did get a first down, so it'll be 1st and goal, and the give to Gresko, and he will score. Jimmy Gresko dives in for the score. That will be his 16th rushing touchdown of the year.
Sure, I want to finish what I was saying about the transfers, because what happens sometimes is you get labeled when you go to one school and you leave and somebody says, well, there's always something wrong. That's not the case. What happens is you go to a school, and if it doesn't work out, you choose, like Jim Ballard, to come to a school like Mount Union, and now he's playing in a national championship game. But if you're a competitive football player and just something doesn't work out, you can find a school. And so I think it's great that transfers have been able to come to both of these schools and have success, because sometimes we make a mistake choosing what school we're going to go to when we first go.
Lindsay with the extra point, which is good. And so Mount Union goes back ahead, 14-9, 13 minutes, 43 seconds remaining here in the second quarter. Back in a moment.
Welcome back to the Mount Union Rowan game. Now, when you're in short yardage situation at goal line, you want your offensive lineman and your defensive lineman to stay low. And watch as this play starts, as the ball is going to be given to Jim Gresko. Now stop it right here, stop. Now number 42, Leroy Jones, the linebacker, has to make this play. He's the player that has to make the stop, but he slips. His feet go out from under him, Jerry. He is not able to make the tackle, so you get a touchdown by Jim Gresko, number 27.
And our scoring drive, 8 plays, 72 yards, a minute and 40 seconds. Time taken off the clock. Gresko, the 1-yard plunge for the touchdown. You mentioned Leroy Jones. He is the transfer from Nebraska. He transfers from one team that's playing for a national title to another playing for a national title.
Well, he's not used to losing in either one of those programs. And Kevin Steele was the linebacker coach at Nebraska, as you see Leroy Jones. And Kevin was his position coach probably at Nebraska, and now he transfers to Rowan and is having a good career here.
Just one of 9 transfers to start for football team. Deep in the end zone, Steve Anderson a yard deep, and he takes it. Possibly not a wise decision, as excellent coverage, and he will be brought down on the 15-yard line.
Jim Lenardi, number 31, with a tackle for Mount Union on special teams. Here's the kickoff return. You're going to see number 31, Jim Lenardi, enter the picture.
And Brian Wervey making contact along with Lenardi. So Rowan College will start deep in their own territory, and they are facing the wind, which is gusting between 25 and 30 miles an hour. Intermittent snow flurries here in the Roanoke Valley of Virginia. Session gives the ball to Anderson. His deep back, gain of a couple and no more. Take a look at Division III total offense. These two schools playing here today, we told you they were explosive. They ranked 3rd and 4th nationally in total offense. In fact, combined, they're averaging for over 1,000 yards a game in total offense. And today, they're pushing 300 yards, 274 yards already, and we'll still have 13 minutes to go in the second quarter. 2nd and 9. 17-yard line. Hession back to throw. Has a receiver up over the 25, and that is Gantry Fox, the junior. Mike Lantos, the quarterback, on the stop. Gain of 10. That'll be enough for the first down.
Jerry, I know this is a well-played game so far with 12:52 on the clock for the second quarter, but there hasn't been one penalty flag thrown. Either the officials' hands are cold and they want to keep them in their pockets and they don't want to throw flags, or it is well played.
And that's good, because Rowan has had a tremendous amount of penalty yardage in 1993, almost 1,200 yards in penalties. This time the pitch to Anderson around left end. He tries a double back, but the pursuit catches up, and he will be thrown for a loss.
Jim Frank and Mike Hallett, you're right, made the play, and this is really the cornerstone of the defense. Frank is 6'5", 240, a senior, number 95. Mike Hallett, number 78 on the inside. There's just nowhere to go. The corner also turns it in, Joe Jekyll, so there's just no place for Steve Anderson to run. The longer you can string out the toss sweep play, you turn it into a non-play.
Don Montgomery doing a great job as defensive coordinator for the Purple Raiders. Calvin Easley in the backfield. It'll be 2nd and 14 for Rowan College for the cross. Draw play. Easley spins, had a seam and couldn't quite make it work. Let's check in on the sidelines with Charlene Hawks.
Jerry, thus far in the game, no penalty yardage for Mount Union, and actually, over the season, they have roughly half the penalty yardage the Rowan College does. When I was talking with Don Montgomery, the defensive coordinator, he said that they have been concentrating on keeping those penalty yardage down. In practice, they have been doing things like adding penalties to whoever is responsible for the penalty. Say a player is responsible for 15 yards, he has to run 15 laps, and it applies to coaches as well. Coach Karras had to run 15 yards after a confrontation with a ref.
Well, so that's one way to try to avoid the penalties, Charlene. 1 lap for every yard penalized. Boy, Bobby Knight would be in great shape, wouldn't he?
He'd be a miler.
A marathoner. We have timeout on the field. 11 minutes and 22 seconds. Mount Union coming back 14-9 over Rowan right now. 2 offensive teams that have just had exceptional years. So while we have timeout on the field, we'll take it with them as we are in the second quarter here of the Amos Alonzo Stagg Bowl. Back after this. We welcome you back to Salem, Virginia. Mike Godfrey, Charlene Hawks, and yours truly, Jerry Punch, bringing you our Division III championship game, part of our championship Saturday here on ESPN. Coming up later today, Division II game from Alabama. Critical 3rd down. And about 10.5 to go for Rowan. Essen back to pass. Good protection. Has a receiver, and he can't quite hang on to it. Calvin Easley, who has been a tremendous running back and a very good back catching the ball out of the backfield, just can't quite get a handle on it.
Jerry, 4th down now. The speed punt team is going to come on the field for Rowan. And if I was Mount Union right now, Larry Karras, I'd go for the punt block, because with the wind the way it is, there won't be much of a return. So as they run on the field, get set, ready to go for the punt block.
Scott Baldwin, averaging 33 yards a kick this year, has had 2 blocks, we mentioned, both coming in the same football game against Trenton, their arch rival earlier in the year. Ed Bubonics and Sean Lyons need to receive for Mount Union. And again, not a good kick. Barely past the line of scrimmage, and the ball will roll down just over the 45-yard line. In fact, be down on the 45, an 18-yard punt.
Tell you, that wind will psych those punters out most of the time, and what I'm sure they're trying to do is get the ball kicked and keep it low so it doesn't get up. Scott Baldwin, number 17, doesn't want to get it up in the wind, and so he tried to kick it low, but didn't get much yardage at all. Now you got to look for the bomb here from Jim Ballard, number 13.
2 receivers, top of your screen, split backs, Mark Neff and Jim Gresko. And there's the man they look for most of the time, Ed Bubonics. Single receiver at the bottom of the screen. Bubonics going the streak, and the ball is just overthrown about the 5-yard line. He had him down there, and he had the man beat.
Boy, he had him wide open. Ed Bubonics on the streak route. The post route was behind Robert Davidson, number 21. But Jim Ballard just was a little bit high and overthrew the ball on number 2. Watch number 2. Ed Bubonics run the post against Robert Davidson. Now he's got him beat right now. Ball just overthrown for the touchdown.
Boy, Ballard is looking better and better. We mentioned he threw 8 touchdown passes last week in the semifinals. The week before, he threw 6 in the quarterfinal game. 14 touchdowns in the playoffs thus far. Ballard back to pass, and he has a receiver, but the ball bounced off the turf and will not be considered a completion. Robert Davidson actually tipped the ball as it was headed toward Bubonics.
You know, Jim Ballard's out of Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, and a lot of schools just passed him by. He went to Wilmington College. Bill Ramsayer, who was the head coach, left his job, and Jim Ballard said, I'm going to transfer. He transferred to Mount Union, and now the Miami Dolphins, the Houston Oilers, they're in attendance today looking at him possibly as a pro quarterback.
He told me last week the Chicago Bears were in town, clocking him in the 40 and getting a look at his arm. Ballard rolls left, has some pressure, tries to get the ball. He will get the ball off, the completion. That is Gresko. And Gresko will be brought down just inside the 40-yard line.
Good pressure by Paul Fornicola, number 56, on Jim Ballard. Never gave Jim Ballard a chance to really set up. Number 56, Paul Fornicola, will get the pressure on Jim Ballard. Here he comes. Pressuring him, just able to get the ball away to Jim Gresko, number 27, to stop him from getting the first down. Now, if you're Rowan College here, you've got to be leery of the punt fake of Mount Union because the ball's inside your 40 and it's 4th and 5. You also got to be very careful not to jump offside to give them the first down.
Sean Egan back to kick, kicking with the wind. Good rush, and this one will look like it's going to make it to the end zone. It does. As Robert Davison waved for the fair catch, but it will go back and come out to the 20-yard line.
Idaho moving ahead of Youngstown, 13-7 at Youngstown. Idaho's beat some good teams. They've been a road warrior in this Division I AA playoff.
Speaking of playoffs, coming up a little later on today, about 1:30, a Division II National Championship game coming your way live from Florence, Alabama. Two unbeatens, North Alabama versus Indiana of Pennsylvania. We'll join Dave Sims, Dan Jiggets, and Rick Walker as they'll bring you that coverage from Florence, Alabama. Continued coverage here throughout the afternoon of our Amos Alonzo Stagg Bowl Division III Championship. No room at all for Steve Anderson. In fact, he'll be thrown for about a 1.5 yard loss.
Now it looks like Mount Union's doing a better job at the line of scrimmage. Rich Dine, number 98, Greg Schaefer, number 50, with the good play. They're going to force Ed Hessen into throwing the football. Casey Keeler, the head coach, sending in the play. But Rowan College has had the out routes on the outside. They've been open to Gantry Fox and Kirby Johnson, number 83.
Dave Anderson has 9 carries for 31 yards in the first half thus far. Calvin Easley in the backfield. Split backs, 2 wide receivers. ECAC Metro Player of the Year. Ed Hessen, the quarterback. And he will take a short drop, pump. Now look to one of his backs who can't quite hang on as he is tagged. That was Jarvis Perry and Joe Jekyll. Good lick from the cornerback, the junior out of Mentor, Ohio.
And number 3, Rob Rogers.
Ed Hessen, number 13, talked about that he would like to go outside, but what's happened is Mount Union is rolling up the cover 2 situation here where they have defenders on the outside, receivers taking away the quick out, and that forces Ed Hessen to throw to Jarvis Perry, and that ball was incomplete.
That'll bring up a 3rd and 11 from their own 19-yard line. Rowan trailing 14-9 here in the second quarter. They're 2 for 6 on 3rd down conversions. Hessen back to throw. Has some room. He will have to scramble. He looks like he will have to get over the 30 and make the first down. And will not quite. It comes about 4 yards short as Mike Lantos shows some speed coming up to make the stop just across the 25-yard line.
Ed Hessen's going to have to get something over the middle. He's not able to throw the ball outside because of the coverage by Mount Union, the cover 2 coverage. He has to get something up the middle. Here comes the kicking team on again.
And once again, Scott Baldwin will try to get off a good kick. Now, in defense of Scott, as you said a minute ago, Coach, he is trying to keep the ball low to keep it out of that gusting wind. Unfortunately, the last one, just an 18-yarder. And the punt will roll dead inside the 45-yard line. 30-yard kick, a little bit better this time. Take a look at these 2 quarterbacks, 2 outstanding quarterbacks in Division III. Current updated stats, 58% completion versus 71 for Ballard. Look at the yardage, 2850, 4,323, 25 touchdowns versus 52. Hessen having a great year, just 7 interceptions. Ballard, 52 touchdown passes. Folks, it's not a misprint, that's correct, 52. A lot of those coming in the past 3 weeks. Ballard rolling to his left. And he will tuck it and run, showing a little bit of speed and savvy. Ballard will take it out of bounds inside the 40-yard line at the 39. Gain of 16 for Jim Ballard. Take a look at his passing stats today. Ballard and Hessen. Ballard 8 for 15, over 160 yards and 1 touchdown.
And 2 of his biggest plays today, Jerry, have been his rushing attempts because he's been smart pulling the ball down. He's picked up good yardage on 2 occasions today, scrambling with the football.
And even though he can throw the ball pretty well, he's the second leading rusher on the football team. Over 300 yards in rushing this year and 3 touchdowns. Gives the ball to Gresko, who will carry it inside the 35-yard line. Being brought down about the 33.
Joe Cockley is the offensive coordinator. He was the head high school coach at Alliance High School, which is where Mount Union's located. Was there for 9 seasons. Did an excellent job for Alliance High School. And he is really doing a good job of play calling today, because he's keeping the Rowan defense off balance with the little draws, little screens, and then able to go to Ed Bubonics on occasion for the big throw.
You mentioned Joel Cockley. He coached 3 different high school football teams in Ohio to 10-0 records.
He's a Mansfield, Ohio native. Went to Lexington High School.
Bring it up a second down. Once again, Ballard back to throw. Has it across the middle to the tight end, Rob Atwood. Atwood down close to the 25-yard line. That's enough for the first down. Andy Hyde, the outside linebacker, in to make the stop.
A little delay route to Rob Atwood, number 89. Rob Atwood in motion. Now he sets up like he's going to block. Lets all the receivers clear, and then he is able to come back underneath Leroy Jones, number 42, and Andy Hyde, number 29.
Rob Atwood, one of the offensive captains, his 4th reception of the day, 98 yards and 1 touchdown.
The 2 good inside receivers in Ed Bubonics and Rob Atwood. When you have a good quarterback like Jim Ballard, you have to have good receivers, and he's got 2 real good ones.
First down, looking for the screen, and he has Gresko, who has a blocker, and Gresko drives his way down to the 15-yard line, carrying Doug Watson, the strong safety, with him.
Jerry, you see what Mount Union's able to do with 6:43 on the clock here in the second quarter. It's just good balance in their play calling. Even though they're not running the football a lot, they'll hit you with a draw, then they come back with a delay, then they come back with a screen, just trying to take advantage of what they're given out there. Just Rowan defense is out of sync right now against this Mount Union offense.
Lone setback is Jim Gresko, senior from McDonald, Ohio. And the handoff this time on the inside to Bubonics. Down to the 10-yard line.
Draw, screen, delays, then you run a reverse. I mean, you've done it all to Rowan's defense. You slowed down the pursuit. You've given them enough different things to look at. They're off balance a little bit. And now you try to hit them with the touchdown pass here. Larry Karras, the head coach, as you look at the sideline, Casey Keeler. Now, here's where Rob Atwood's dangerous down here.
Motion, Mike Sirianni. Top of your screen. Once again, the fake inside the handoff. Here's Ballard rolling, and he will run out of room as he is chased out of bounds.
Number 13,
out of bounds at about the 12-yard line. John Reckner, good job for the defensive end, the senior from Philadelphia. Moved there from outside linebacker a year ago.
Tried to go to Rob Atwood, and what makes it difficult down here, usually you're going to have your tight end on the linebacker down here, and when you move Rob Atwood around with motion, he's going to get a clean release. So I'd look for him to try to get the ball to Rob Atwood down here in this area of the football field, ball on about the 12-yard line.
Atwood broke his hand in week 8. His right hand, he missed the last 2 regular season games. Had a pretty serious fracture in the back of his hand. He's been able to play in all 3 playoff games. As you see, he has that glove on, but he has some tape and a splint covering the back of his right hand. 3rd down. Ballard, and it's intercepted on the 15-yard line. Bill Fisher, the nose tackle. He had Bubonics right beside Fisher. Fisher sticks the hand out, grabs the ball, and up the field he goes.
What Bill Fisher did on this play is he didn't rush. He's the nose guard, but he didn't rush. Number 90, Bill Fisher, is going to sit back and play in pass coverage. Good defensive call. Here he is. Look at the left hand. He looks like a receiver here. 6'3", 280. Maybe he's a split end. Picks off Jim Ballard's pass.
30-yard line.
Here again, he steps back. He just makes the interception. Ed Bubonics, number 2, was the intended receiver. You talk about a big play by Bill Fisher out of Cherry Hill, New Jersey. A big play for the defense of Rowan College.
And Fisher, the transfer from Minnesota via Towson State, came from Towson State into Minnesota, now to Rowan in Division III. Here's the pitch back to Steve Anderson, looking for some running room outside, up over the 35.
Number 33, Steve Anderson, the ball carrier.
Gain of about 6 yards.
Number 3, Rob.
Bill Fisher on the sidelines talking to his coaches. Was in the right place at the right time. Ed Bubonics was open. What happened to Bill Fisher? He went down to a knee, was blocked, came back up, didn't rush, and picked off the pass.
Archie Stalkup down there, defensive coordinator, along with Ed Benton, the defensive line coach. There's Stalkup talking to his defense.
And most of your coaches in Division III, other than the head coach, teach high school. He coaches at Lenape High School. He's a fine arts teacher, the defensive coordinator, Coach Stalkup.
Calvin Easley pulling his way ahead for about 7. That'll be enough for the first down. Bob Malinowski, the inside linebacker, in on the stop.
Recruiting in Division III is so much different too, Jerry, because they wait usually until the national letter of intent for Division I, 1AA is over, and then they start recruiting players. They'll bring as many as 400 to 600 kids to campus. They give them one meal. They usually give them a lunch, but most of their recruiting is done by the telephone. They really don't know who's going to come because they don't have a letter signed until the day they actually open practice to see how many players and who arrives at their campus.
And Coach, some of the schools don't allow, some of the conferences don't allow off-campus recruiting at all.
Ohio Conference is one conference in Division III does not allow off-campus recruiting.
First and 10, Hessen has the completion outside. Kirby Johnson, and Johnson will take it up for about 7 or 8 yards. The completion will make it 2nd and short. Coming up, college basketball, triple header on ESPN. Starts at 5 p.m. Eastern time with Ball State and Western Kentucky. Coming up at 7:30, it's Stu Jackson's number 19 Wisconsin Badgers taking on Texas Tech. Then at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, Big Country Bryant Reeves leads the 15th ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys against Dale Brown's LSU Tigers.
Ralph, there's a couple of guys with don't have all their oars in the water, but Ralph Willard, Western Kentucky basketball coach out of the Sun Belt, opening up our basketball program with Ball State tonight. Rich Dine with the tackle there, number 98.
Number 98.
Jerry, do you think those guys with their shirts off, I mean, and you're a doctor, I know, and not a psychiatrist, but
this is the way you're supposed to be dressed here when it's a chill factor of 0 degrees. We're down there just having a good time and trying to enjoy it. Or as some of our camera guys there who've been standing out there all day.
On the 47.
That's not Batman Joe Vanderford, is it? No, I think. And here's a youngster enjoying the football game. We told you they sold some standing room or sitting room only on the bank there this morning after a sellout earlier in the week here at Salem Stadium. Nelson back to throw. And he'll have it picked off in the secondary. Mark Malcheski up over the 35. Malcheski, who led his team in interception this year, picks off his 11th pass of the year. Let's check in the studio with Mike Tirico. Michael, what do you have for us?
A flag on the play. It's a base mask penalty against the drop.
And back at Salem, thank you, Michael. Youngstown State coming back, taking a 1-point lead over Idaho. We had a face mask penalty on the interception.
Jerry, the interception by Mike Malcheski is his 11th this season.
Personal foul, face mask on the defense, first down.
He had 27 interceptions in high school at Lake Catholic under Jim Gibbons. And the coaches talked about, Coach Don Montgomery talked about, he's like a coach in the secondary. He makes all the checks in the secondary for coverages.
Mount Union just a little over 3 minutes to go in the first half. Ball on the 47-yard line. And once again, Ballard will roll to his right. Has Bubonics, has a receiver open deep and just can't quite get the ball off. Looks like the ball slipped out of his hands, and I think Paul Fornicola, the outside linebacker, had something to do with that.
It's a big series for Mount Union because ahead 5 points, got the wind at their back, got pretty good field position to start this drive inside the 50-yard line. Larry Karras needs a big play out of Jim Ballard. And when you think of big plays, you have to think of number 2, Ed Bubonics.
Once again, less than 3 minutes to go in the first half. Mount Union has all their timeouts remaining, 3 to go, as they are up by 5 points. We have a 14-9 football game. 2nd and 10. The Purple Raiders. Ballard looking over the middle for Bubonics, and he can't quite hang on. Down about the 30-yard line. He's juggling the ball, and it tumbles away.
Mount Union Larry Karras makes the play call. He's going to roll Jim Ballard this way and try to hit Ed Bubonics on the post route on the backside where he has one-on-one coverage. Jim Ballard will roll to the right. Now look at the one-on-one coverage. There's no linebackers underneath. Ball's thrown right on the money against Chris Rhodes, the defensive back, number 9. Ed Bubonics just cannot hold on to the football, Jerry.
Look at his right hand. Now, he has a broken bone in his right hand. He has a cast on the back of his hand. He broke that in the first playoff game this year against Allegheny. So he's doing a heck of a job just trying to hang on and all to the football. 3rd and 10. Ballard has a receiver over the middle, and it will be enough for the first down. That is Rob Atwood, the tight end. Gain of 11 and you do 10, and so the drive continues.
One thing that Rowan College is going to have to do at halftime is make a little check, because when they bring Rob Atwood in motion, no one will get any kind of contact on him. He gets a free release. Watch him in motion. Now watch as he works up the field. No one gets any kind of contact on him. He's wide open against man coverage of Douglas Watson, number 7. That's pitch and catch right there.
Atwood is picking them apart. 5 receptions for 110 yards and a touchdown, and we're still not even at halftime yet. Senior from Streetsboro, Ohio. This time to give inside to Gresko, and he will bring it down inside the 35-yard line. P.J. Mahegan, the sophomore inside linebacker, on the stop.
I think what's important about both these schools, too, Jerry, is that where they're located at. You take Mount Union, they're in Ohio. As you look at Jim Ballard's 11 for 21 in the Massillon, Canton area, the Youngstown area, which is a big, heavily football-playing state, good high school football, good coaching, and you take Rowan, which is in a great area of high school football also. So both of these teams have benefited from the fact of good coached high school football players.
4 wide receivers. Ballard back to pass. Has a receiver open inside. He goes to Gresko out of the backfield, and Gresko will gain a couple. It'll bring up about a 3rd and 3 situation as the clock runs, and now we're under a minute and a half to go in the first half.
What a hit by Leroy Jones, number 42. Big hit on Jim Gresko.
You mentioned about all the great high school players. As you see the hit here just a moment ago.
Jim Ballard just dumps the ball to Jim Gresko as running back. Now watch number 42 run right through him on the tackle, Leroy Jones. That's a picture tackle.
3rd down. Ballard will roll to the inside, looking for Bubonics, and they say he didn't catch it. Down on about the 17-yard line, Robert Davidson was the defender. Talking about great high school players, Coach, you mentioned that Doug Graber up at Rutgers this year told us, he said there's enough high school kids in New Jersey to field 3 fabulous Division I football teams.
There's no doubt. It's excellent. I think I'd go for the field goal here if I was Larry Karras. Looks like he's going to go for the first down. Jim Ballard rolling to the right, looking for Ed Bubonics. Open, but just couldn't hold on the ball. They're going to go for the first down with 4th and 4 at the 31-yard line with a wind at their back.
Well, Andy Litchley, the sophomore, has kicked one from 42 yards. This will be close to 50 if they want to try from here, even with the wind at their back. Pressure for Ballard, throws it, and one hand, he tried to reel it in. Jim Gresko could not quite, but the pressure was on from Bill Fisher, the nose tackle.
Covering on that pass.
Back with more from Salem, Virginia. After this, stay with us.
And Rowan takes over, 1st and 10. And timeout has been called by the Raiders.
Back in Salem, Virginia, less than 1 minute to go in our first half. Mount Union up 14-9 over the Rowan Profs. And let's check in on the sidelines with Charlene Hawk. Charlene?
Jerry, starting wide receiver for Rowan College, Kirby Johnson, has been on the bench for the last 15 minutes. He is out with a sprained left ankle, but according to the trainer, Chuck Whedon, he should be back in the second half.
Thank you, Charlene. They certainly need him. He is a 2-time all-conference selection, New Jersey Athletic Conference wide receiver.
I think what Rowan will try to do is just give the ball to Jarvis Perry here.
And Perry straight ahead for a couple of yards. Mike Hallett, the two-time All-American defensive tackle on the stop.
What you like to do here if you just run the clock out, try to run the ball one more play, and if you pick up something, although Mount Union's going to make them play a little bit, they're going to call a timeout. Try to pick up something on the ground here, Jerry. 43 seconds and going into the wind.
By Mount Union, the Purple Raiders.
That'll bring up a 2nd and 8. There is Casey Keeler, first-year head coach of the Rowan Profs. 1981 graduate of the University of Delaware. He was a linebacker at Delaware and played on their 1979 national championship team.
Well, Tubby Raymond has put out a lot of coaches at Delaware. Delaware, of course, successful in playoffs in different divisions, and Tubby Raymond has been a very successful coach at Delaware, and a lot of his former players went into the coaching profession. Now, there's a way to go to the football game.
Nice cozy sleeping bag, and
somebody just tells you what's going on. You can't see anything.
A lot of football yet to come your way this afternoon on ESPN. Coming up very shortly, North Alabama versus Indiana of Pennsylvania. That's coming your way from Florence, Alabama. They'll be kicking off down in Florence in about 5 minutes, and we'll join our group down there, Dave Sims, Dan Jiggets, and Rick Walker, as they will be carrying the action. 2 unbeaten going at it. Who do you like in that one, Coach?
I'm going to go with Indiana, I believe. And even though North Alabama's at home, I think Frank Cignetti's due down there.
Should be a great contest. We'll be joining that very shortly from Florence, Alabama. 2nd and 8. Again, this time once again to Jarvis Perry, and Perry has gotten some yardage. Now what do?
I still do the same thing, and try one more running play. Mount Union going to stop the clock here because of the first down. Now Mount Union won't call another timeout, but one more running play by Jarvis Perry, and if he picks up some yards, then I might try to throw the ball, but other than that, I'll just kill the clock.
3 wide receivers, bottom of your screen, single setback. That is Perry once again, and he will get the ball as an opening up over the 45.
Now I might let one go right here, Jerry. Close to the 50-yard line now. Maybe put one deep throw up here to see what I can get.
Well, they're in no hurry to get a playoff now. They rush to the line of scrimmage. Ed Hessen, as they approach 10 seconds in the first half. Hessen gives the ball, and Jarvis Perry will be stopped behind the line of scrimmage. Defensive end Rich Dine and Greg Schaefer. So we are at halftime of this 21st annual Amos Alonzo Stagg Balls. Mount Union leads Rowan 14-9. Outstanding first half here in Salem, Virginia. Let's check into the studio with Mike Tirico. Mike, what do you have for us?
The toss sweep here. They did, Jerry, have some success early in the game running the football against the Mount Union defense. On the other side of the ball, Jim Ballard with a screen pass to Rob Atwood. Good call against the blitz from the outside, and a touchdown for Mount Union.
Take a look at our first half statistics. Somewhat of a surprise, Coach. What stands out in your mind here?
I think the biggest thing, Jerry, is like you and I talked about. With all the speed that Rowan College has, they have not been able to get a play over 20 yards. And look at Mount Union, 4 big plays over 20 yards to give them the lead in this football game.
193 yards passing for the Raiders in the first half. Jim Ballard, the Division III Player of the Year, who received the Gagliardi Trophy, which is the Division III equivalent of the Heisman Trophy, in a presentation yesterday. There are the coaches here in the second half. Larry Karras got to be pretty pleased with the play of his team in the first half. He is the Mount Union head coach in his 8th season. Second winningest record in Division III.
If you're Casey Keeler, the coach of Rowan College, what you need is a defense to cause a turnover on Jim Ballard. They cannot give Jim Ballard time. And if you really, what you really have to do is shut down Ed Bubonics and Rob Atwood. You got to double those 2 receivers.
And Rob Giuliano will put the ball on the tee at the 35, and the wind gust takes it off the tee. So we'll tee it up again. Deep for Mount Union, Ed Bubonics, the fellow you just talked about, Coach, who has been a key wide receiver for him, and their running back, Jimmy Gresko.
And another key, Jerry, is the fact that the winds at Rowan College is back, so they have to take advantage of the third quarter.
Gresko takes it at the goal line, up over the 15. Dodges a couple of blocks, takes it over the 20, and He is down on the 21-yard line. Let's check in on the sidelines with Charlene Hawks.
Jerry, in the Rowan College locker room during the half, the coaches were saying that offensively they're getting beat on the line of scrimmage. No running game has been consistently set up, and so they have been inconsistent with their drives. They need to establish themselves in the trenches. In the Mount Union locker room, Don Montgomery, the defensive coordinator, was telling guys they haven't done one thing that we haven't expected. All our scouting reports are right on. He says right before Coach Karras left, he wrote the initials JDM on the blackboard, which stand for Coach Montgomery's dad, who died a couple of weeks ago.
And certainly an inspiration for the offense. Anyway, the first play, a big gainer to give to Jim Gresko, the running back, and he is brought down by Doug Watson and Bill Louette. A big hole up front.
16-yard gain, just a little draw play, taking advantage of Bill Fisher working up the field. Good block by John Smith, the center.
John Smith, the senior center, 6'2", 250, out of Logan, Ohio. Gaping hole up front for the 16-yard gain. 1st and 10. And here is Ballard rolling the pass. Has a receiver wide open, and it looks like to me it's Atwood. It is a man who is so wide open in the first half.
Smart play by Rob Atwood. As we look at the quarterback comparison, Jim Ballard 12 for 24 in the first half, 193 yards. You see Ed Hessen 58 yards, and for Jim Ballard was the interception that was thrown down close to the goal line when they were trying to get more points on the board.
Gain of 15. Atwood now 6 receptions for 125 yards and a touchdown. That's for the senior tight end. Motion, Atwood this time in motion. A mix-up in the backfield, and Ballard will fall on the ball. He and Gresko run together. Ballard loses control and drops on the football for a loss of about 3.
Haven't had many miscues all day, and just a collision between the quarterback and Jim Gresko, number 27. Jerry talked about scouting reports. So Division III, you get the 9th and 10th game, I believe, in the regular season, or the 10th and 11th game. So both these teams only got to look at 2 tapes. They didn't get to look at any of the playoff games. So when they were scouting both teams,
and that's by NCAA guidelines to prevent you from getting the playoff tapes. And up the field, he has a receiver, and once again, it's Atwood. Ballard showing some athletic ability, rolling, avoiding the rush, throwing on the run. Quite a gain.
Jim Ballard with a good fake, rolling out to the right. And what's impressive about Jim Ballard is that he throws the drop back game well, but he also throws on the run, both right and left, moving in both directions. Has a strong arm and is very accurate on the run.
7 catches, 138 yards. Sets up a 3rd and 1, and they give the ball to Gresko, and it's going to be close. Paul Fornicola, the outside linebacker, is there along with the strong safety Doug Watson to try to make the stop. And it looks like with the spot he will have the first down.
Casey Keeler's defense going to have to try to find a way to put pressure on Jim Ballard. You can't allow him the amount of time he has to throw. And where the pressure has to come from, Jerry, because they're rolling out, it has to be outside pressure.
Heard Charlene Hawks say that they were going to try to get their running game going in the second half. They better stop Mount Union's game defensively. Another little mix-up as Gresko runs into the back of one of his blockers, trying to cut it back. He saw a hole on the inside, and he will gain a couple. That's Fornicola once again, the transfer from Montclair State, the outside linebacker, along with Andy Hyde. Boy, Andy Hyde's quite a story, Coach. Last year he started at tight end. He's been a running back in the playoffs a year ago. They said he could play any position on the offensive line. Maybe the best all-around or most versatile athlete on the entire football team.
Casey Keeler said he may be our best football player. They need to get pressure from the outside on Jim Ballard. And, of course, they got to be prepared for the screen pass.
2nd down, 8 yards. Ball, line of scrimmage, 35-yard line. Once again, Ballard getting some pressure. He'll be sacked by John Rector.
That's what they have to have. They have to be able to make contact with Jim Ballard. Can't just let him throw the football and not get hit.
Idaho back ahead of Youngstown State by a couple of points at the half in Division I AA. You saw a moment ago, North Alabama has scored on their possession and take a 7-0 lead over Indiana and Pennsylvania. Last play here, watch Rector.
Jerry, we talked about the pressure has to come from outside. good hit by John Reckner, number 55, because if you pressure him up inside and he's rolling away from it, you're not going to get to him. The pressure has to come in his face.
51st sack of the year by Rowan. And pass intended. It's tipped for Mark Neff. And Leroy Jones, the inside linebacker, the transfer from Nebraska, there to make the play.
But they hit him again. Bill Fisher was in again. Watch the pressure on Jim Ballard now. Here's the pressure as he throws the football. Bill Fisher hits him, and then Leroy Jones, number 42, knocks the ball away from Mark Neff, another 42.
That'll bring up a 4th and 15. And we'll see Sean Egan back to punt. Sean Egan was an all-conference soccer player for 3 years. They didn't have a punter this year, and the coach said, hey, you've got 1 year of eligibility left. Young man, this is a football. He's done a pretty good job punting for him, and he will get one off today, low, into the wind, and it will roll inside the 20 down to about the 8-yard line. So with that, we have timeout on the field. Early in the 3rd quarter, back with more from the Amos Alonzo Stagg Bowl after this. Stay with us.
And timeout has been called.
We welcome you back to chilly Salem, Virginia. Here it's turned into a rather nice afternoon as the clouds have moved away. We had snow flurries this morning, surrounded by the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains and Allegheny Mountains in the Roanoke Valley. Our Division III championship game. First possession for the Rowan Profs here in the 3rd quarter. They're trailing 14-9 after getting on the scoreboard first.
And up going to number 31, Easley.
Bob Malinowski on the stop from Calvin Easley. Big halfback giving the ball deep in their own territory. Now, Coach, you heard Charlene say at halftime in the locker room, Casey Keeler said they have to get their running game going. What do you do? I mean, you got some size up front with Mikowski, the 300-pound tackle. Do you run inside, or do you try to get the outside game going?
Well, the key is Rob Rogers, number 3 and 38, Matt Winters, because when they're playing inside, you're running against an 8-man front. They're outside now, so you ought to be able to run the football. Of course, they're in a no-back set right now, but
2nd and 5, Hessen to throw, and it's nearly picked off. Rob Rogers almost picked it off, as that'll bring up a 3rd down. Let's check in back in the studio with Mike Tirico. Michael?
Please go to your buses immediately. Bus drivers, please go to your buses immediately.
3rd down for the Rowan College Profs, deep in their own territory. 4 wide receivers, no back set. Eddie Hessen, the senior quarterback, ECAC Metro Player of the Year. Back to throw. Looks to his right, has a receiver, and has the 1st down. Raymond Trent, out of East Brunswick, New Jersey.
Raymond Trent, a receiver that's got a lot of speed. They like to get him one-on-one. Bob Malinowski, number 57, making the tackle.
And you heard Charlene report in the 1st half that Kirby Johnson had been injured. He was the leading receiver this year for Rowan, the junior from Florence, New Jersey, and so Ray Trent is his backup at the wide receiver spot. High back formation, Easley and Perry. 1st and 10, Hessen back to pass, has a receiver open, but it's picked off. That is Rob Rogers, and he will bring it inside the 20 and fights his way toward the 15-yard line. They finally blow it dead as he is down at about the 16. A 17-yard return.
The same pass that Ed Hessen got away with a minute ago when he threw that should have been intercepted by Rob Rogers. He came right back with the same route, the same pass. He's going to try to throw the square into the left. Rob Rogers, number 3, hits him right on the money. I mean, that ball couldn't have been thrown any better to Rob Rogers for the interception, and now Mount Union is in good position.
Got to give an assist to Mike Hallett, the All-American defensive tackle. Mike Hallett was in the face there, and there's a good look at Rob Rogers. Outside linebacker, what a job he has done today. Now Mount Union has the ball and is threatening once again. Give inside to Gresko. He will move inside the 15-yard line. P.J. Mahegan, as we have a penalty flag on the play.
Somebody woke the umpire up. They have been keeping the flags in their pockets the whole game, and here's a holding call against Mount Union. It's really going to hurt the Alliance Ohio football team.
Well, they've been pretty good this year on penalties. They've been penalized 65 times all year long, about half of what Rowan has experienced.
See Ed Hessen on the phone upstairs to some of the coaches.
Holding on the offense. Repeat, first down.
Michael, we have indeed had a turnover, interception, and a 17-yard return, which gives Mount Union a chance deep in the Rowan territory. They just had a holding call. It's moved them back 10 yards. Let's take a look at what happened to the change of possession just moments ago.
Well, the interception's made by Rob Rogers, just a poorly thrown ball by Ed Hessen. He got away with one a play before, and watch as he throws the ball right to Rob Rogers, number 3, the outside linebacker. Hit him right on the run. But then what followed that, Jerry, was a holding penalty against Mount Union, which has put them now in a 1st and 21 situation.
Looked like Mike Halland, the All-American defensive tackle, may have gotten a finger on the ball as the ball was thrown by Hessen. But in any event, it was an interception and a 17-yard return. So Mount Union has the ball deep in Rowan territory. There's a look at Jim Ballard. 1993 Division III Player of the Year. What a great career he's had. Over 10,000 yards passing, 51 touchdowns this year. He's thrown one today already, making it 52.
Jerry, crossing routes have been open for Mount Union in this ball game. Number 89, Rob Atwood, starting on one side of the field, crossing about 15 yards, or Ed Bubonics. So I would figure that Mount Union will try something where they try to run a crossing route with 89 and number 2, Bubonics and Atwood on this play.
Take a look at Jim Ballard's numbers today. 14 completions, 27 attempts, 221 yards. He's had one picked off. 1st and 21 after the holding call. Ballard rolls to his left, has a receiver. Once again, it's Rob Atwood, the senior tight end. And Chris Rhodes, the quarterback, rides him out of bounds at about the 18-yard line.
Well, he really lost about 5 yards because Chris Rhodes is, at the end of this play, Rob Atwood is out in the flat. Jim Ballard again with that strong arm, but watch Chris Rhodes put his hand on the football, knock it out, and the ball went back about 5 yards, which cost Rob Atwood 5 yards of yardage that he would have gained.
That was a gain of 8 yards. It'll bring up a 2nd and 13. Single back set. Jim Gresko, the senior, leading rusher. 4 wide receivers. They will put Atwood in motion to the top of the screen. Ballard looking left. To Gresko, the screen. Gresko toward the 10-yard line, inside the 10, as Leroy Jones, the inside linebacker from Nebraska, will bring him down and save the touchdown just past the 9-yard line.
Mount Union is going to run motion, but then they're going to throw the screen out here to number 27, Jim Gresko. The lineman will set up and then try to both the center and guard get in front of Jim Gresko. The tackle will make his block. Here's the screen pass. Tom Commit, number 66. John Smith, number 64, out in front with good blocks and taking it down to about the 9-yard line.
John Smith, a senior center. His sister, Katie Smith, is the All-American basketball player as a sophomore at Ohio State. And what a job she did last year for them as a true freshman. Here's Ballard back to throw once again. Scrambles, gets some pressure, dumps it off to Gresko. Gresko will fight his way down to about the 7-yard line. P.J. Mahegan, the inside linebacker, who's the transfer from New Haven, Division II school a year ago. He will make the tackle.
Here's a decision now for Larry Karras. Do you take the field goal and go up by 8 points? I do. I'll take the field goal. It's a 4th down and 3 situation and try to go up where you have an 8-point cushion.
And I believe you heard you, he sends Dan Ulichny on. Ulichny on, the sophomore from Lorain, Ohio.
And number 8.
Ulichny has hit from 42 yards this year. This will be
the field goal.
what looks to be a 26-yarder.
Rob Atwood.
Placement down on the 16-yard line. Line of scrimmage is 7. And they call timeout.
Timeout has been called.
Rob Atwood, the junior quarterback, calls a timeout. So while they take a break on the field, we'll take this break from action here in the Division III championship. Back after this. Stay with us.
Timeout called by Mount Union. Ballard is ready for play.
We welcome you back to Salem, Virginia, part of our Championship Saturday football coverage, NCAA Division II and Division III championships. We're here in Salem with the Amos Alonzo Stagg Bowl Division III. And Coach, listen to the wind, Gus.
Well, the wind is definitely in the face of Mount Union. Now, I was telling you during the timeout, I don't like it when a team calls timeout just before they kick the field goal. The holder called the timeout.
26-yard attempt, and we've got some movement up front. John Owen, the right guard for Mount Union, and it'll cost them 5.
And that 5 yards is important with that wind. As you looked at the flag earlier, the wind is in the face of Dan Ulichny.
And now there's some movement on the Mount Union sideline. They may rethink this a little bit with that extra 5 yards. Head coach Larry Karras calling his quarterback back in, and I believe he will.
Well, see, everything's went wrong in this. They called a timeout, first of all, on the field goal attempt before they snapped it, so that meant something was wrong. Then they came back in, lined up, the right guard moved. John Owen, I believe, moved. Now I think this is a good move by Larry Karras because of the wind factor. Bring your offense back in, let Jim Ballard try to get the first down.
It'll be 4th and 8, and Ballard will roll right. Looking back to his left, has a receiver. It is Atwood, and he will score. Why? What a turn of events. Rob Atwood coming back against the flow, and Ballard rolling right, finding his tight end. Can you believe it? They have a holding call. They have a motion penalty.
Well, it's a good call by Larry Karras because he had the same feel. You know, just something was wrong with the field goal. They just, to make the timeout call, that meant something was disturbed. Then to have somebody jumping into that wind, you might as well let Jim Ballard, your All-American, take the shot at it, and he proved to make the decision right.
Rob Atwood had 3 touchdowns last week. You see the extra point going through against St. John's of Minnesota. He has 2 TDs here today. Let's check in back in the studio with Mike Tirico. Michael? On the board anyway. Kicks it off, and it'll be rolling squib kicks. Rolls down to about the 37-yard line. Aaron Bosco, the backup fullback, sophomore, covers the kickoff. Good field position for Rowan College.
But you might as well squib kick it, Jerry, because you're not going to get any height on the ball. The ball's just going to die in the wind anyway. But the squib kick is very effective because you have a chance of recovering it also, Mount Union.
Raiders scoring drive, 4 plays from scrimmage, 26 yards. Time 2 minutes 19 seconds. Ballard was 4 for 4 on the drive, and I said the scouts. You said the scouts were here earlier watching it. They got to be pretty impressed.
Especially the Cleveland Browns are close by Mount Union, and they need to They'll need some quarterback help along the way. They may take a look at it.
Here's Ed Hessen's completion up over the 45 to Joe DiPietro.
Joe DiPietro, the tight end, making the catch.
So DiPietro makes the catch. He's the junior out of Tuckertown, New Jersey. His 16th reception on the year. And they'll measure for the first down. And it's a couple inches short.
Get the penny in there. That's how far it is.
Looking at K.C. Keeler, the Rowan head coach. Head coach and offensive coordinator. He's 7 years an assistant coach. 5 of those 7 as offense. Is it tough to give up the play calling if you're an offensive coordinator and then you become a head coach?
I think it's very difficult, but I think you need to keep calling the plays if you're the head coach. Sometimes you can give that duty away and you give your football team away sometimes too.
Give to Jarvis Perry, the fullback, and he will get a yard, maybe a yard and a half at most. He is met head on by Greg Schaefer out of Sullivan, Ohio, the junior defensive tackle.
The interesting thing in this ball game, Jerry, is both of us, after watching practice, thought that Rowan would get big plays because they had speed, and we felt like they would take advantage of that speed, but they have been limited to the big plays today by the Mount Union defense.
We talked at the beginning of the show how Mount Union's defense had allowed less than 48 yards rushing a game, and they have been impressive here in much of 3/4 of football. 1st and 10, Ed Hessen back to pass. Looking deep, has a receiver wide open who has the catch down on the 25-yard line. That is Raymond Trent. You talked about his speed, Coach.
Well, Raymond Trent is the speedster on this offense, and where they're starting to throw the football now, Jerry, is down the middle of the football field. They've had very little success on the outside. Raymond Trent is wide open. They went to a formation where they had all 4 receivers running deep routes, and Raymond Trent was open inside.
26-yard gain down to the 24-yard line. Split backs, Jarvis Perry and Calvin Easley, 2 of the bigger backs that Rowan has to offer.
Like Easley in this set.
Shuffle pass this time to Easley. He's inside the 15, down to the 10-yard line. And Mike Malcheski, the sophomore safety, saves a touchdown.
Well, we have the coaches from Mount Union in the next booth, and as soon as the play developed, they said shovel pass, and it was wide open. And the Mount Union defense really didn't adjust to that very well.
Great job of blocking up front by Scott Pringle. Thank you very much, Michael. Line of scrimmage just outside the 10-yard line, and Eddie Hessen from Rowan completes the pass, but he is covered like a blanket. That was to Brendan Burke. Wide receiver Rob Rogers, the outside linebacker, is there to make the stop. Moments ago, we had a score by Mount Union after they had changed their mind on the field goal.
Jim Ballard rolls to the right. He's going to come back to Rob Atwood on a crossing route for the touchdown. A good decision by Larry Karras, and take the lead 21-9. Here's where you look for Calvin Easley, number 31, in this play.
Critical play for Rowan College, 2nd and 8. And as you said, Coach, they pitch the ball to Easley. He's the big back, and he rumbles down close to the 5-yard line. They will spot it inside the 5 at the 4. Bob Malinowski, the inside linebacker, senior from Jefferson, Ohio, there to make the stop.
I'd come right back with the same play because you've got Calvin Easley, who's got pretty good size in the backfield. He's a strong runner, good pursuit by the Mount Union defense. I'd come right back with the same play, Jerry.
I'm surprised. You know, Mount Union's defense has allowed less than 48 yards rushing the whole season. They have been extremely difficult to run against, yet Rowan is getting a running game going. Hessen on the quarterback draw, well, score. Ed Hessen, who has not run the ball that often this year, takes it in. They said they'd like to try to run the draw inside the 10-yard line. Hessen took 2 steps back and dove across.
He did a good job with formation of spreading out the defense of Mount Union. Really, there's one back in there. That's Jarvis Perry. And he got a key block on the play. And you see Ed Hessen stretch the ball out, trying to break the plane of the end zone for the touchdown. Gets us back to a close game, Jerry, 21-15.
And that's the key. Jarvis Perry, who's a 200-pound fullback, he's like a linebacker. They said we can run behind him, and he will definitely be an asset to us on the quarterback screen. Extra point is up, and it is good by Rob Giuliano, as Rowan now tries to claw their way back into this Division III championship game. Back in a moment.
Ed Hessen, number 13, the quarterback for Rowan, is going to run the quarterback draw, pick up a big block by number 5, Jarvis Perry, to get in the end zone to bring this game a little closer at 21-16.
5-point separation. And there's K.C. Keeler, the head coach. Yes, he says, as they get fired up now on their sidelines. Scoring drive, 7 plays, 63 yards, 2 minutes, 58 seconds. We talked about Rowan getting the ball going on offense. They have rushed for 113 yards, almost 4 yards a carry. As Ed Bubonics takes it at his own goal line, kick off up to the 20-yard line. Let's check in on the sidelines with Charlene Hawk. Charlene?
Jerry, yesterday I talked with Ed Hessen, and he said that growing up his idol was Dan Fouts because he was always so poised and confident, and Ed likes to consider himself that kind of a quarterback. He said, in fact, if we're only 7 or 14 points down, I'm still quite relaxed. He says if we're 3 touchdowns down, that's when I get nervous. So he's still very much in his comfort zone.
I think he gets nervous. If there's 3 touchdowns down, the coach gets nervous too.
There's a look at Eddie Hessen, the 4-yard run. Now, you were impressed with his release in practice.
Very quick release. Does a nice job of throwing the short routes.
And here's Jim Ballard back for a quick pass. Tips and almost intercepted at the line of scrimmage. Let's check in back in the studio with Mike Tirico, who's standing by watching 2 championship games. Mike, what's going on down in Florence, Alabama? Back set, second down, 2nd and 10 for Mount Union. They realize they have to get some offense now because Rowan has gotten fired up offensively. Ballard rolls to his right, almost gets caught and almost picked off. He had a receiver. Atwood couldn't get a handle on it, and Chris Rhodes, boy, if he'd have kept that one, he had clear sailing in front of him.
Big defensive play by Paul Fornicola, number 56. He really makes this play because he's being blocked. You're going to see him come in the face of Jim Ballard. It's a block by Jim Gresko, and then the ball should have been intercepted by Chris Rhodes. Right in the numbers, but he couldn't hold on to the interception.
They say Fornicola may be the quickest player they have on defense. He's an outside linebacker, but he runs a 4.5 40. He is the leading sacker, 14 sacks on the season.
Not grocery store, right?
No, he doesn't bag them. He sacks them. 3rd and 10. And Ballard back to pass once again. As a receiver, Gresko manages to hang on, but it will not be enough for the first down. And it will bring up a punting situation for Mount Union. John Reckner in on the stop for Rowan College.
More aggressive in that series by the Rowan defense. They were more aggressive. Now, I'm still waiting for somebody to go for a punt block in this ball game. So we'll see if Rowan decides to block it into the wind.
Major momentum shift here. Steve Anderson is deep for Rowan College. And the Rowan Profs, after that recent touchdown, pull within 5 points. And they will get the ball back. 3 and out for Mount Union.
You think Henry's nervous?
The man who gave $100 million at the school named after him. And they're coming after the punter. They heard you, Coach. And he gets it up in the air, but the wind catches it. And it'll be down on the 40-yard line.
Excellent field position for Rowan and Ed Hessen. 14-yard punt.
14 yards on the kick. And taking a look at Ed Hessen. Good field position for Rowan. Now they have a chance to, just outside the 40-yard line, to possibly go in and take the lead here.
Calvin Easley has really kind of sparked this offense in the last couple of series. Number 31.
Single setback, Jarvis Perry, 4 wide receivers. Ed Hessen, a motion, Easley. Hessen looks out for Perry, has the ball inside the 40, 35, a little bit of running room, and he will gain about 6 yards down to the 34-yard line. Jim Frank, the defensive end, in on the stop.
Jerry, we talked about how most of the coaches in Division III, assistant coaches, teach high school, and they teach the high school classes during the day, and then at nighttime they go over to the office and coach football till about midnight. So they really hold 2 jobs, and most Division I coaching programs of their full-time football coaches in Division III, they teach high school and they also teach some courses in college.
There are only 2 full-time coaches for Rowan. Casey Keeler, the head coach, and Don Doak, the assistant head coach. This is Easley once again rumbling down near the first down.
Calvin Easley's been the man of the hour for the Rowan offense because he's picked up some big yards, blocked well, caught the football, has made some big plays for this offense.
No, I don't need it. I don't need it.
You mentioned Casey Keeler, talked about how pleased he was to be able to get Don Dobes, who had been an offensive coordinator at Temple and Rice and Penn following Jerry Burt.
He's with Jerry Burt, and he felt very good about that addition to his staff.
It's a first down for Rowan. Once again, they are on a roll.
Ball's resting on the 30-yard line.
First half was all Mount Union. Second half, at least the third quarter portion of it, has been all Rowan College props. Perry and Easley, the I-backs, 2 wide receivers. Hessen looking over the middle, getting some pressure from outside. He scrambles, has Easley on the perimeter, sees him, but can't quite get the ball there. Hessen very frustrated with himself, trying to get the ball, and it's got to be Cole trying to hold that football down there.
He just tried to push the football, Jerry. He didn't throw it. He tried to push it to Calvin Easley and just made a poor decision there rather than try to throw the football. You know, we haven't seen Steve Anderson much in the second half. I think he's come on the field now. He had some success early in the ball game. Number 33.
Anderson averaging 133 yards as an all-purpose runner this year.
Try to get the ball in his hands. Either throw it to him or give it to him in the running game.
2nd and 10. And the completion inside the 25, and that is to Anderson. Rob Rogers on the stop as Anderson now will lumber down to the 20 and gets up limping.
He's the key player, Jerry. You've got to get the ball to Steve Anderson. Of course, he's hurt now, going off the sideline, but he is really a gifted football player.
Thank you, Michael. Is indeed getting close. 5 points here. It's been all momentum in the second half for Rowan College. The first half was all Mount Union as they moved ahead to an early lead, and now Rowan has come back. Taking a look at Casey Keeler and his young quarterback, Ed Hessen, as they are trying to come in for their second score in the third quarter.
Busiest man in Bristol today, Mike Tirico.
Indeed, Michael, getting a chance as you are at home to watch 2 championship football games. It's a good one going on in Florence, Alabama, Division II, and right here as the sun has now come out in Salem, Virginia. Split backs, 2 wide receivers. 1st and 10, line of scrimmage at 20-yard line. Hessen will pitch the ball this time to Perry, and he is inside the 20, down about the 16-yard line. Storyline for this Division III championship game. Amos Alonzo Stagg Bowl. Take a look at Rowan's 119 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Ed Hessen, 132 yards, had a couple of picked off. Mount Union, the man has been Atwood, the tight end. 9 receptions, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Ballard's having a great day, but they are just trying to hold on now to a slim 5-point lead. Harry and Easley, the split backs. Second down, and Hessen stumbles. Looked like he fell over Jarvis Perry's leg. Perry moved up to try to block as they're beginning to bring some pressure.
Ed Hessen on the drop back, as he steps back, looked like he tripped from the start. It looked like maybe the center, Chris Stalkup, caught his foot before he left the center area. Big play here for Rowan.
Mount Union up 21-16. A 5-point differential, and Rowan driving now, big down.
Brown, Raymond Trent, number 3. He's been the receiver they've been able to get the ball to.
Single back is Perry. 3rd and 12. Hessen back to pass. Has a receiver open at the 10-yard line. It is Ramsey, and Ramsey makes the catch for the first down. It'll be 1st and goal for Rowan College as they have taken the momentum away in the 3rd quarter.
Priest Ramsey, number 8, was a second receiver. On the inside, this receiver is going to clear out. He's going to move inside. Priest Ramsey, number 8, for the catch. Going to follow the inside receiver. There's the in route, open, and just barely picked up the first down, Jerry.
Gain of 14, and even 13 for the first down. They gained 14 yards, 1st and goal. Here's the shuffle pass inside to Easley, and he will score.
Powerful running back, Calvin Easley, number 31, for the touchdown on the shovel draw.
Coaches said he is probably the best blocking halfback in Division III. He's not a bad running back either.
Jerry, that was an important call because with 12 seconds to go, they're going to lose the win. So to score that touchdown here on the replay, there's a little quick shovel pass. Jack Curtis at Utah developed that pass a long, long time ago.
Calvin Easley.
Jack.
Calvin Easley, excuse me, Coach, what an incredible young man. He is heavily involved up at Rowan College with the Special Olympics. Last year he was a starter at halfback. They brought in Steve Anderson, who took over the starting role. Easley has been a role player this year, primarily used as a blocker out of the backfield.
Rowan's going to go for 2 because with only a 1-point lead, they're going to try to stretch that to where a field goal would only tie them and then force it into a tiebreaker because we have a tiebreaker in this playoff.
In the 3rd quarter with the win, Hessen stats 9 for 12, 96 yards, and a touchdown. So the elements playing a factor here. You heard Charlene Hawks at the top of our telecast talking about the wind being a factor here. The wind chill about 0 degrees. It was snowing when we began the football game earlier today. It has stopped snowing. The snow has stopped. The sun has come out, but the wind is still a factor.
You have to figure Calvin Easley is going to figure in this 2-point play.
Split backs, Easley and Perry, the 2 big backs. Hessen over center. Back to pass. He has Easley open, and he has it to Perry. No, it's Perry was the other
tight end, Joe DePietro, number 46. Joe DePietro with the catch.
The junior out of Tuckertown, New Jersey.
I knew a Joe DePietro out of Ohio.
His 17th catch of the season, his 3rd touchdown.
Watch both backs. They'll go in the route to clear out. Both backs clear out. Now the tight end, Joe DePietro, comes underneath, number 46, the 6'3", 220-pound junior, beats the safety, Mike Malcheski, number 24, for the 2-point conversion.
And indeed, quite a celebration there by DePietro. And suddenly Rowan takes a 3-point lead with just 12 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter. We told you it would be an offensive explosion, and they have certainly turned up the wick here in the 2nd half.
12 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter, so got a lot of football to play yet here, Jerry.
45 points have been scored in just a little less than 3 quarters of play. And now Mount Union will get the win in the 4th quarter with their Division III Player of the Year at quarterback in Jim Ballard. Once again, that scoring drive, 8 plays, 40 yards. The shuffle pass, Hessen to Easley. Here's Giuliano kicking it off. And Bubonics brings it up across the 20, 25, 27-yard line.
one more time, we're going to take a look at the touchdown pass from Ed Hessen. No, here's the shovel draw to Calvin Easley for the touchdown. That's the touchdown by the 5'9", 200-pound senior running back, Calvin Easley.
What should be the final play in the third quarter, and Mount Union should be able to get the win here at their backs in the fourth quarter. 1st and 10, ball on the 27-yard line. Jimmy Ballard gives it inside to Gresko, has some running room up across the 30, 35, gains about 7. Bill Fisher, the senior nose tackle, transfer from Minnesota, makes the stop. So at the end of 3 quarters here in the Amos Alonzo Stagg Bowl, Rowan College has pulled ahead by 3 points over the preseason #1 ranked Mount Union Purple Raiders.
Remaining off the field during and after the ball game. Once again, as a reminder, no one is allowed on the field without proper credentials, and we appreciate your cooperation in remaining off the field during and especially after the ball game. Your cooperation would be deeply appreciated.
Great football game here in Salem, Virginia. Sun has come out. Wind is still gusting from left to right. Sellout crowd here. They sold. The stadium holds 8,000 people. Built back in 1985 at the cost of a little over $2.2 million. Backs are Neff and Gresko. Jimmy Ballard changing the play to line of scrimmage. Back to pass, got him wide open. Bubonics down on the 35.
Number 2.
Chris Rhodes in a press coverage and man coverage. Ed Bubonics with a good release off the line of scrimmage. Wide open on this play. Look at the release, though. He faked him out, faked Chris Rhodes out. Now he's behind him. The free safety's going to come over the top, but can't get there in time. Chris Rhodes has to make the tackle on Ed Bubonics. Big throw by Jim Ballard.
Gain of 37 yards, and now Mount Union comes thundering back here in the fourth quarter. 1st and 10, line of scrimmage at 33-yard line. Once again, Ballard rolls right, gets a lot of pressure, and Leroy Jones, the inside linebacker, leading tackler, gets the sack. But Bill Fisher was putting a tremendous amount of pressure. He's the nose tackle.
They guessed right on defense that time. Leroy Jones with the blitz, number 42. To the side, Jim Ballard rolled, was able to make the tackle and force the pressure on the quarterback.
That was the 3rd Rowan sack of the day. Ballard back looking deep, has a receiver, Bubonics wide open down on the 20-yard line. He will lumber out at the 17. Thank you very much, Michael. Youngstown State getting it done in the second half, and here Mount Union trying to roar back in the fourth quarter. They have lost their lead. They were up by 12. Now they're down by 3 points, 24-21, but they are driving. It is 1st and 10. Here is Ballard, and the ball is tipped. The pass intended for Jim Gresko, but Andy Hyde, the outside linebacker there to make the play.
Talk about Youngstown State winning today. Going into the fourth quarter against Idaho. Mount Union's probably about 40 miles away from there. So the two schools both having success with all the great high school talent in that area.
Could be a big day for Ohio. Of course, a great year for Ohio State. What a job they've done up there with the Buckeyes here in 1993.
Who's been quiet lately is Rob Atwood, number 89. Jim Ballard hit him about 9 times in the first half.
Ballard back to pass, looking for Bubonics again. He has him up at the 5-yard line. And he is forced out at the 4. Chris Rhodes in the coverage.
Andy Hyde with a blitz, number 29. But Ed Bubonics is going to run down and run an out route and come back to the football. Look at the cushion he gets at the top of the screen. Now there's the out route. Good throw, good strong arm. Chris Rhodes in coverage against Ed Bubonics, number 2.
Boy, they are picking on Chris Rhodes, Coach, the right cornerback. He's a transfer from University of Mass, and the bad part is that we are told he's one of the best cover men they've got in the secondary.
Well, what makes it, Jerry, is Jim Ballard has such a strong arm. He's able to throw from the middle of the field to the side with good velocity on the football.
It's to Gresko to the 3-yard line. They motion to Atwood, the tight end, to get some blocking on the left side. Pitch the ball to Gresko, and he's brought down by Ed Williams, the true freshman.
Good tackle by Ed Williams, number 45. A very good tackle.
Pretty good blocking on the perimeter by Bubonics. Not only can he catch the ball, he does a pretty good job of opening some holes on the outside. Take a look at our total yardage. Mount Union 389, Rowan 269. Now Mount Union averaging over 500 yards of total offense this year. Second and goal. Here is Ballard, has a receiver wide open. That is Gresko. Obviously some blown coverage there, and Gresko takes it in for the touchdown.
Crossing backfield action really affected the linebackers in man coverage, and Jim Gresko was just able to come scot-free on the outside. Now the backs cross, Jerry. That fouls up the linebackers. Number 45, Ed Williams, I believe, had Jim Gresko, number 27, but got caught inside on the crossing action for the touchdown.
Ed Williams is the backup at inside to P.J. Mahegan. The sophomore. Williams, a true freshman. Extra point kick is up, and it's good. Dan Ulichny, and Mount Union will take a 4-point lead. Let's check back in with Michael Tirico. Mike?
5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16,
Jerry, it just seems like in one offense just answers the other offense. If you look at the cheerleaders of Mount Union doing the push-ups, as good an offense as they've had this year, that'll be a strong cheerleading group.
I tell you what, they've got to be in pretty good shape. No doubt about that.
Now you look for Ed Hessen to answer Jim Ballard, his counterpart at the quarterback position, to get a drive going for the Rowan team.
Well, it's been a game of momentum. First half, Rowan gets on the board early in the first quarter. Mount Union roars back in the second quarter, takes the lead at halftime. Third quarter, Rowan has the wind and the momentum as they come back and score twice. And now it looks like the wind making a difference for Mount Union. They've come down and retake the lead. 13 minutes and 14 seconds remain as Wayne Bender and Calvin Easley go deep for the Rowan College props. Dan Ulichny set to kick it off, if they can keep it on the tee. Ulichny's kick going down 6-yard line. That's Calvin Easley, the big back, who breaks a tackle, breaks 2 tackles, 30-35, and Easley loses control of the football as he is hit.
I don't think the officials looked at the ball. The ball came out. He really got hit. The ball came out, Jerry, before he hit the ground.
He was hit.
Calvin Easley was decked.
He was hit a ton.
See what you think on this, Jerry. Whether he fumbles the football, Calvin Easley is going to really get a good return on this kickoff. Beats 1 tackle, misses the 2nd tackle, the 3rd tackle, but right here, he's going to get hit, and the ball pops out.
Your cooperation would be deeply
Mark Neff, I believe, number 42, makes contact with Calvin Easley.
And that was as hard of head-to-head contact as I have seen, and Mark Neff has walked over to look as they it's obvious that that kind of impact it looked like Easley just went to the ground and just let go of the football. Not taking any chances at all. Rowan College medical staff out there. Chuck Whedon, their trainer. Outstanding sports medicine program up at Rowan College. Here's K.C. Keeler.
Hey, Scotty, get him in the hole.
And here's the helmet of the fellow who made that ferocious lick on the kickoff return.
It's Martin F., number 42.
Who is the running back for Mount Union. Now, if you're K.C. Keeler, coach, you've had a great third quarter. Now you've lost the momentum. You've lost the lead. And that's good to see. They get the young man up, and he walks up the field. Here's K.C. Keeler talking to his quarterback. What do? Do you try to... You're throwing into the wind if you have to throw the ball. You try to sustain the running game, which you've had success with in the third quarter.
Well, first of all, you're going to lose Calvin easily for a couple of plays as he goes off the sideline. So I think you open up throwing the football here, Jerry. Little short passes. They've had some success down the middle against the Mount Union defense.
Riley is ready for play.
Good return by Easley on the kickoff. Line of scrimmage at 35-yard line. Wayne Bender, the sophomore, halfback in from Millersville. Along with Jarvis Perry, the fullback. Bob Malinowski making the stop.
It's a pretty good run by Bender, Wayne Bender, to pick up 5 yards. Anytime you get 4 or 5 yards on first down, Jerry, it's a successful play. Puts you in a good situation on second down to run or pass.
Bender has only carried the ball 21 times this year for 117 yards. He's a transfer from Millersville. Another one of the numerous transfers playing in today's Division III championship game. Second down, Ed Hessen. Second and 5. Back to throw. Looking short as a receiver. That is Raymond Trent.
Number 3, Trent.
And Trent steps out of bounds, but not before getting the first down.
That formation has really helped Rowan because it's given him an opportunity to spread the field a little bit. Now here comes Calvin Easley back on the field. I'd give it right back to him, Jerry. Let him punish somebody on the other side.
Look at the helmet that Calvin Easley is wearing. It looks like someone sandblasted in front of him. You think he hasn't taken a few licks today?
He's taken some hits.
You know, apparently they have lost Steve Anderson, who was their starting halfback. He left off early in the third quarter. We have not seen him come back.
On the reverse,
well, gentlemen, it's 11 minutes and 47 seconds left to play here in the Amos Alonzo Stagg Bowl. Mount Union has come back to take a 4-point lead, but Rowan is now on the move, and they have had some problems offensively. Primarily, they have lost their starting halfback, Steve Anderson, who left off in the third quarter. Calvin Easley, his backup, was knocked unconscious a moment ago on a kickoff return. He has since come back in the football game, and they are still moving the ball offensively.
This is the formation where they spread the defense and then give the ball to Jarvis Perry. They've had some success with that early.
And as you said, Coach, Perry takes it down inside the 35-yard line. Bob Malinowski makes the stop.
Number 98, Rich Dine, along with number 20.
And here's the last couple of touchdowns. Here is the score for Rowan. The shuffle pass to Easley, Calvin Easley. And here's the Mount Union touchdown to retake the lead. And our score 28-24. Just under 11 minutes to play here in Salem, Virginia. Championship Saturday on ESPN. Ed Hessen, senior quarterback. Back to pass, has a receiver wide open, left sideline. That's Joe DePietro, the tight end. And he will step out of bounds, but not before getting the first down.
Joe DePietro's come up big here in the fourth quarter. Joe DePietro, of course, the two-point conversion was a big reception, and now number 46 with a key pass reception here to give Rowan the first down on the 25-yard line.
We told you Calvin Easley, the halfback, took a heck of a lick on a kickoff return. We get a chance, take a look at the front of his helmet. Talking about number 31 for Rowan. he has taken some unbelievable licks today.
Jerry, in this formation, they like to work to the left side here, the two receiver side, because they got Mount Union so spread out. Down here at the bottom of the screen is the area they like to work on.
Hessen has had 6 straight completions, make it 7. Jarvis Perry, that ball should have been caught.
Should have been caught, but he was a secondary receiver. He got flushed out of the pocket on the run and tried to hit Jarvis Perry. Ed Hessen's going to look to the left side. He's trying to work to the back side, but gets pressure from Mike Hallett, number 78. Throws the ball out to the receiver, Jarvis Perry, number 5. He just couldn't hold on.
Jarvis Perry, 22 receptions on the year, 193 yards and a touchdown.
Now this formation, Jerry, they like to work the backs out of the backfield in the pass. A little short pass reception area.
Split backs are Perry and Easley. Hessen back to pass, the shuffle to Easley. That's the one they scored the touchdown a moment ago. This time about a 4-yard gain. It's diagnosed pretty quickly by defensive end Rich Dye, the junior from Ohio.
Defensive lineman, when you see the shovel draw, you have to react right away. Number 31, Calvin Easley, is going to get the shovel draw, but Rich Dye, number 98, read it all the way and played the shovel draw to stop the play. I think if you're rolling down here, you think of 2 plays. You got 2 plays to make this first down.
Taking a look at Rich Dye, who's been the leading sacker for Mount Union. Big 3rd down, 3rd and 9 for Rowan College. 4 wide receivers, no backs. Hessen back, throws it toward the end zone, and it's incomplete. Overthrew the intended receiver, Gantry Fox, the junior from Beverly, New Jersey.
Gantry Fox was open. The ball was just thrown too high by Ed Hessen.
And the receiver open at the goal line. Now the decision. What do you do, Coach?
I'm trying to work Calvin Easley, number 31, on a linebacker. Out of the backfield.
Line of scrimmage at 25-yard line. It would be a 42-yard field goal if they were to attempt it. And they will not because of the stiff wind in their face. 4th and 9. Rowan trailing by 4 points here in the 4th quarter. Hessen back to pass, looks, has a receiver. It is Easley, and he will not make it. He will end up 4 yards short. Joe Jekyll, a cornerback from Mentor, Ohio, made the tackle that saved the first down.
Ed Hessen was a little late getting the ball to Calvin Easley in the crossing route. So watch Calvin Easley. It's just a little crossing route with both backs. Calvin Easley gets the football, but Joe Jekyll, number 25, read the play from the start and made the tackle to save the first down. But now you got to turn it over to the defense of the Rowan College.
So Mount Union will get possession of the ball deep in their territory here in the 4th quarter. Back with more from Salem after this. We welcome you back to the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, the Roanoke Valley. You see some snow flurries there in the background. We have had quite a windy day here, but quite an exciting day. 2 explosive offensive football teams trying to determine who will be the Division III national champion for 1993. Close football game. Mount Union, the inside handoff to Gresko. He will gain a couple of yards. P.J. Mahegan, the inside linebacker, makes the stop after a gain of 3.
Mount Union is trying to take advantage of the middle linebacker, P.J. Megan, because he's lined up so deep because of the pass action of Mount Union that they're trying to get to him to block him on the little trap play up inside. There you see P.J. played that play nicely in the last one to shut it down to a 2-yard gain.
Larry Karras, Mount Union head coach, trying to take some time off the clock here in the 4th quarter. Up by 4 points. Ballard back to pass, and he has his receiver up at the 40-yard line. Once again, Ed Bubonics out of Willowick, Ohio.
Leroy Jones was in pretty good shape on this play. Number 42. Watch the linebacker, number 42, Leroy Jones, but Jim Ballard has so much on the football, just gets it over the outstretched hands of the linebacker to Ed Bubonics. Ed Bubonics just right in the hole to make that catch.
Gain of 17 yards. It'll make it 1st and 10, up almost to the 40-yard line. Bubonics, 7 receptions, 141 yards on the day. Mike Sirianni in motion. The give inside once again to Gresko. Dances around up over the 40-yard line. He made a 3 or 4 yard gain out of nothing.
Jim Gresko, you're right, Jerry, on that play, was able to sidestep the penetration by Bill Fisher up inside and still pick up the 3 yards that he was able to get on that play. That yardage was by Jim Gresko. You see the play open. There's nothing really there. He avoids a tackle, then just skates a little bit, picks up some yards, and the umpire fell down. There's going to be a little cold on the back.
Great block by John Owen, the senior right guard from Mount Union, giving Gresko some running room. Here is Ballard back to throw. As a receiver, Gresko at the 50, 45, and he stumbles down. They will actually mark the ball back on the 46-yard line as he's tripped up by Dan Robertson, the defensive end.
Jerry, when you get to this point in a national championship ball game, you look for players that are going to make plays. As you see the linebackers drop, they're so conscious of Rob Atwood. Jim Gresko comes out of the backfield, but that's 2 and 3 plays that he's made in this last series that he's been able to pick up big yardage. Jim Gresko, number 27. You see Rob Atwood, who had 9 catches in the first half.
Ballard at 360 yards passing today. That completion, Atwood. He had Bubonics open down at about the 30-yard line. And Bubonics not turning around. Pass incomplete.
And number 9, Rhodes on the coverage.
Jets in Washington are in a real slugfest there in the NFL today. Scoring match. 3-0 Jets.
Incompletion will stop the clock here. 7 minutes and 15 seconds remaining in this Amos Alonso Stagg Bowl. In its first year here in Salem, Virginia. What a nice job they have done here, the Stagg Committee. Sold this game out early in the week. They sold standing room this morning. Ballard back to pass. And yes, Bubonics was there, but so was Chris Rhodes at about a second and a half too early.
Tried to hit him on the post route, and Chris Rhodes interfered with it. Casey Keeler knows it on the sidelines, a pass interference call, so to come back up, and they'll mark off the penalty. Ed Bubonics on the post route just gets hit before the ball's there by Chris Rhodes, number 9. Jerry, just keep one thing in mind. If that's the way Chris Rhodes is going to play the post route, now you have to be concerned a little bit. If I'm up in the press box here trying to throw a corner route on him, fake the post inside to get him drawn inside, then run the corner route to the outside of the field with Ed Bubonics.
We mentioned Rowan had 3 of 4 starters returning in their secondary. The new starter for this year was Chris Rhodes, a senior from Piscataway, New Jersey, up there where Rutgers University is. And they have certainly been picking on him most of the afternoon with Bubonics. 2 wide receivers, Bubonics near side, Sirianni top of the screen. Give inside to Gresko, and he is met at the line of scrimmage. P.J. Mahegan once again making the stop after a gain of maybe a half a yard.
P.J. Megan just read that draw play from the start. Was able to stuff it in the backfield. Number 53 is responsible for the draw. As soon as he seen the draw develop, he was able to get in the backfield and make the play.
Mahagan led the team with 13 stops in the semifinal against Washington and Jefferson a week ago. He makes all the defensive calls. Here's a look at the 6', 210-pound sophomore. Second and 10. Ballard back to throw. Has a receiver. Guess who? Bubonics and Rhodes.
Here's what's happened to Chris Rhodes on the outside. Earlier we saw him make the interference play on an inside route. Now Ed Bubonics comes right back with an out route to work against Chris Rhodes, and he's wide open because Chris Rhodes was overplaying the inside route.
Take a look at Ed Bubonics' numbers. 8 receptions, 152 yards. These guys are going to have to exchange Christmas cards. Much time have they spent together today, Bubonics and Rhodes, at receiver and secondary coverage. First and 10. The give inside once again to Gresko. Andy Hyde makes the stop after a gain of about a yard. Take a look at some other scores. North Alabama up by 4 at halftime. That's our Division II championship game going on. And with a little over 4 minutes to go, Youngstown State up by 12 over Idaho.
It's a home field advantage, Jerry, in Division I AA when you get that opportunity to play those games at home. Larry Karras with 5:54 on the clock. Casey Keeler, Rowan, feeling the pressure of trying to win a national championship for the respective schools.
2nd and 9. Over 5 minutes to play. Looking back, looking for Bubonics. He's at the 3-yard line. He has Gresko at the 15, Gresko at the 10, at the 7. And Leroy Jones finally brings him down. They're going to mark him down back at about the 8-yard line.
It would be hard to pick who's the most valuable player on this offensive football team, because you got Jim Ballard, who's really operating at the quarterback position at a very high rate. Rob Atwood, Ed Bubonics, but Jim Gresko, to me, is the guy that seems to come up with the big plays all the time. He's an outlet receiver on this. He's going to get a good block by number 42, Mark Neff, and picks up valuable yardage for the first down on the 8-yard line.
There's a look at the senior running back. 10 receptions, 77 yards today for Gresko, who is their leading rusher on the season. Motion by Sirianni. Ballard looking for Bubonics, has him at the 3-yard line. Robert Davidson forces him out, but not before he made about a 7-yard gain.
When you get down in the goal line area, usually you face man coverage, and they've got 2 receivers right here. Rob Atwood's going to work inside, Ed Bubonics outside to try to get a little bit of a pick play. Ed Bubonics makes the catch, takes it down to about the 3-yard line. There's the release, inside, outside. Ed Bubonics against Robert Davidson, number 21.
2nd and goal for Mount Union. Ball at the 3. Split backs, Mark Neff and Jim Gresko. And flags.
Flags are down.
Had some motion up front. Rowan defense clapping their hands, saying they think Mount Union jumped off, and now Mount Union thinks that Rowan jumped off. So we'll offside Rowan. So it'll be half the distance.
It's an offside penalty against Rowan.
Jerry, when you're up in the press box and you're the defensive coaches, you try to remember the last time they were in this situation, and what Mount Union chose to do the last time was to run Jim Gresko, number 27, right here on a little counter play right up inside for the touchdown.
Here's Ballard, and he will try to run it in, and he will score. And Jimmy Ballard stretches out his 6'4", 221-pound frame, dives across from 1.5 yards out for the touchdown.
Well, he shows you why he's the Division III Player of the Year, was awarded the trophy at the banquet the other day here in Salem, Virginia. Little fake, play fake. He's trying to get the ball to Jim Gresko on the outside, but again, he makes a good decision. A sign of a quarterback is not only whether he can throw the football, hand off, make choices at the line of scrimmage, but make decisions on whether to run or pass, and he's made the right decisions almost the entire day.
And the first team all-conference right tackle George Radich had an outstanding block up front to pave the way for Ballard's touchdown.
Kenny Wable, the longtime coach of Mount Union, who has to be here today, has to be very proud of Larry Karras and the program that he's developed in Mount Union College. There's a lot of good Division III, Division II coaches in the state of Ohio, and Larry Karras is one of them. And you take Lee Tressel, who was a former coach at Baldwin Wallace, Davey Maurer at Wittenberg, Ed Sherman at Muskingum. You got Keith Piper at Kenyon. You got Fred Martinelli at Ashland College. You got a lot of good coaches in the Division III, Division II programs around the country.
And the procedure penalty will make this a 25-yard extra point attempt by Daniel Lichney. Snap is down and it is blocked. And we have a 10-point football game here as Mount Union up 34-24 with 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And yes, they're celebrating here at the Stagg Bowl.
Let's go. Get on out.
Here we go, Jimmy.
You got the keys or toss? You got your phone.
Gagliardi.
Clinching set to kick it off here with 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And Easley can't handle the kick. Calvin Easley. Thank you very much, Michael. And time is indeed running short for Rowan College out of Glassboro, New Jersey. 10-point football game. 5 minutes and 1 second to play for a national championship.
Casey Keeler looks on nervous. Jerry, I'll tell you, I've been impressed with the coaching of both these football teams today. I mean, they really have had well-coached football teams on the field. Very little mistakes.
Hessen pass intended. Incomplete up around the 20-yard line. Take a look at our storyline as Gantry Fox can't quite hold on. We have a flag on the play. It's been a momentum day. Third quarter, it was all Rowan. 15 points. Hessen 177 yards, a touchdown and 2 interceptions. Mount Union this half comes roaring back in the fourth quarter. 5 possessions, 3 touchdowns, 387 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception.
Here's the man of the hour for the Mount Union team, Jim Ballard. And now if you're Mount Union on defense, you're thinking interception the whole way here, Doc. Put the nail in the coffin with an interception here.
Defensive coordinator explaining, you know, that type of thing.
Well, they're definitely seeing purple here. You saw that sign, ESPN. Everyone's seeing purple now. 1st and 24 after the holding call for Rowan College. Ball back on the 7-yard line. Hessen back to pass. A lot of pressure, and he will be sacked down the 5 by Rich Dye, the junior defensive end. Led the team with 8 sacks here in 1993.
Good pressure by the front. Rich Dine. Pin their ears back now. It's pass rush time now with 4:34 on the clock, and the clock running here in the fourth quarter. Casey Keeler's trying to urge his team to move offensively. Here's the pressure on Ed Hessen. Number 98, Rich Dine, beating the block of the tackle, Nick Villani.
Time running out for the Rowan Crofts. Fourth quarter, down by 10, and he 2 scores in his own end zone, and he just able to get back out to the 1-yard line to avoid the safety. Greg Schaefer, a defensive tackle from Sullivan, Ohio, almost had Hessen in the end zone as Hessen able to lean forward to the 1-yard line. Now make it the 2-yard line. They place the ball down. It'll be 3rd and long. It's 3rd and Roanoke.
It may not be Roanoke, but it's close, as Rowan's going to take a timeout here to talk it over with 3:47 left to go on the clock, and time running out on their national championship hopes.
You're facing a 10-point deficit. You're facing a stiff wind in your face at 25 miles an hour, and not a lot of time to get it done. Let's check in back at the studio with Mike Tirico. Mike?
Let's get out of the huddle. Let's go, Doc. Give. Move your feet, okay? Stay in front of him. 96 is over. Avoid that guy getting quicker. Jason, put him on top of him, okay?
No, Jerry, Idaho beat Northeast Louisiana at Northeast Louisiana. They just ran out of time, and they played all their games on the road.
It's there, Rowan. 16. Let's go. Come on, let's get out there. It's their offense. Let's go.
Casey Keeler talking to his entire offensive football team. Keeler, his first year as head coach, what a job he has done. They are 11-1, their only loss. Second game of the year to CW Post, a 4-point loss. And CW Post had a quarterback, Perry Klein, who reminded them a lot of this young man they played today.
Transfer out of Cal, Division II. A lot of the pro people like Perry Klein out of CW Post. The pros.
Third and a day's ride for Rowan here. Ball on the 2-yard line, looking for a receiver, and he throws short to Jarvis Perry. Perry can't handle it. That'll bring up 4th and about 27.
Well, even if he'd have caught that football, he'd have been tackled right away. This ball's got to be thrown down the field. You can't punt the football. You got to throw it down the field. They are going to punt the football.
They're bringing Scott Baldwin on to kick the ball. Kick it into this stiff wind. 3 minutes, 43 seconds remain in the 1993 Amos Alonzo Stagg Bowl. There's Scott Baldwin, senior, averaging 33 yards on the year. Gets a pretty good kickoff here into the wind, but the wind just stops it at about the 20-yard line, and it rolls to the 27. Time running out. A 10-point football game here in Salem. Back with more after this.
We got 2 timeouts. They use both of them.
Welcome you back to Salem, Virginia, the Division III championship, and they are celebrating on the Mount Union sidelines. 3 minutes, 32 seconds remain. Their team, the Purple Raiders, up by 10.
This should be Jim Gresko time, too. Just put the ball in his hands and get the clock running, and Rowan has 2 timeouts left to try to kill the clock.
You called it, Coach. Gresko straight ahead for a couple of yards. Let's take a look at how the Raiders got here. Their 5th time in postseason play. They opened up in the regionals against Allegheny, won 40-7. Albion, Michigan, they beat 30-16. And last week, incredibly, St. John's of Minnesota has a good football team.
Jerry, an important thing is they played all 3 playoff games at home.
Take a look at how Rowan arrived in the championship game, beat Buffalo State, William Patterson, and then a close one against Washington and Jefferson last week. 2 touchdown passes by Ed Hessen within 20 seconds in the 3rd quarter sealed that one for Rowan College.
And a lot of people thought W&J would be the team to get here, but they had 6 turnovers last week. They have a very well-coached, good football team at W&J. Last year, they played in the finals against Wisconsin lacrosse. We had that game in Bradenton.
Taking a look at Jim Ballard talking to his head coach. College basketball triple-header coming up later today, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Ball State in Western Kentucky. At 7:30 p.m., Stu Jackson's 19th-ranked Wisconsin Badgers beat the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Then at 9:30 Eastern Time, Big Country, they call him, Bryant Reeves, leads the 15th-ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys against Dale Brown's LSU Tigers. NCAA basketball coming your way, a triple-header tonight on ESPN.
And where do you think Ron Franklin will be at? Which one of those games, Doc?
I'm not really sure. He may do all 3.
Well, put him at one. Go ahead.
Ron Franklin normally works at primetime college football coverage. Is once again the gift to Jim Gresko. Andy Hyde makes a stop, trying to burn out the clock on what has been an incredible year for Mount Union College. They have never made it to the national championship round.
And I'm a proponent of a playoff in Division I. I really believe that you should have it. Here we watched a Division III playoff today. It's been very successful and a very well played game. And I think we'll have it in Division I before long.
I think the fact that these 2 teams are so evenly matched indicates that a playoff does work. I mean, they got it Division III and II. 1AA, as you saw today, with the Youngstown State efforts.
And the argument about it's too much time away. I mean, these players are no less students than anybody in Division I, so that's not a good good reason.
Number 27, Jim Gresko is the ball carrier.
2 minutes and 30 seconds remain here. Let's check in with Mike Tirico. Mike?
fourth down.
Fourth down and about 4 yards to go as the clock now winding down. Under 2.5 minutes here in Salem, Virginia. Mount Union, Neff and Gresko the backs. 10-point lead. Jim Ballard will hand the ball off to Gresko, who dances down to the 15-yard line.
That's the final nail right there, Jerry.
That first down will pretty much seal it for the Purple Raiders.
Some happy coaches from Mount Union in the booth beside us.
Realizing that what well, Michael, they just have driven the final nail in Rowan's coffin. The first down here on the previous play, and now Mount Union can run the clock out with 1:22 remaining on the first down give inside for a couple of yards. Some long faces over on the Mount Union sideline, but they have nothing to hang their head about on the Rowan sideline. And there's a look at their quarterback, Ed Hessen.
All that will do for them is a drive to get back here next year, Jerry. I mean, when you get this far, I mean, it's a great feeling, but you want to win when you get here. So Casey Keeler will work his football team, and they are 10 points away from the national championship. They'll be back in this playoff again.
Third consecutive year that Rowan has been in postseason play. Hessen's numbers, 20 of 31 for 179 yards and a touchdown. Jim Ballard takes the one knee down as we approach 30 seconds to go in the 21st annual Amos Alonzo Stagg Bowl.
Very well played football game. Very few penalties. And now it's time to celebrate.
Celebrations begin here in Salem, Virginia. The first of 3 years we'll be here enjoying the Roanoke Valley hospitality. NCAA Division III national champions for 1993, Mount Union College. Tiny Mount Union College, an enrollment of 1,325 up in Alliance, Ohio. And congratulations to Larry Karras and his staff on a 14-0 unblemished season.
Best in the nation. Yeah! Great job, guys.
Great job, gentlemen. Great job.
Well, with the Division III game already concluded, let's check back in on the Division II game with Mike Tirico. Mike?
Hold it down a minute, fellas. Right there. We got a lot of time to celebrate. We got a fourth down on another game. Yeah! That's the nation, baby. We'll get your picture taken on back up. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, Dave. Got a great one going on down there in Alabama. Well, our title has been decided here in Salem, Virginia. Mount Union wins it by 10 points. Let's go down where Charlene Hawks is standing by with the winning coach.
Larry Karras, head coach of national champions Mount Union Raiders. That's got to feel good. How do you sum it all up?
Well, it's a great day for Mount Union College, and for all of us and for all of our alumni and friends everywhere. That's how I sum it up.
How big was the stop on 4th down with 9 minutes left?
It was real big. We needed to stop them there. Then it was big to take the ball down and score again. That was a big drive.
Well, one of your stars over here, Jim Ballard, quarterback, winner of the Division III best player in Division III college yesterday. But you had quite a supporting cast. You had nearly 400 yards, but you had some players there to back it up.
Yeah, Robbie Atwood had a great game. Our offensive line did a great job giving me time to throw. They handled the blitzes real well. You know, Ed Bubonics really stepped it up the second half and fell in our favor.
Thank you very much, and a huge congratulations to you. Jerry?
Thank you very much, Charlene. Once again, our final score here in the Amos Alonzo Stagg Bowl, Mount Union 34, Rowan 24. Let's go back to Florence, Alabama, and Dave Sims.